Here we go. We're live.
All right, and we're live. Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to part 2 of our playthrough Hexingtide by Will Phillips, our game master. We're joined once again by Peach playing with us, bringing their fun to the table. It's really enjoyable last time, so I'm glad you could still join us again too. And we'll just do a quick Peach, tell them who you are, where to find you, and then we'll throw it to Will before we dive right back into the story. We're live. Awesome. Yeah. Go ahead. Feel free to drop any of those links in the chat too, so people can find them. And our GM, who created this game as well, give him a quick rundown, tell him where to find you and everything. Will,
how is it going, everybody? Super pumped to game, super pumped to chat and be sarcastic and snarky in the chat as the evening plays out. I'm Will Phillips. You can find me on Twitter as, yeah, you guessed it, Will Phillips. Also, if you hang out and watch part of the stream tonight and are interested in learning more about this game of minimalist, monstrous role-playing, the best place to find out more info is just hit up Hexingtide.com. That will take you to my gaming blog, which will give you links back out to the free pay-what-you-want downloads on itch.io. That'll take you to the Facebook, the Discord, and also back to me on Twitter. So we'd love to chat. We've got 3 different playtest opportunities, online games coming up in November, December, and January. And so we'll have links to that as well. If you see this and you're like, that might be fun to take for a spin as well, would love to have you join us in one of those opportunities over the next couple of months too.
Yeah, heavily encourage, whether you're listening live or recording down the line on this, if you've got the time, take the opportunity. This has been a lot of fun kind of figuring out how the system works and getting into it, and the character creation especially. So if you've got the ability and the time, do check it out. All right. Well, I guess now we go back into it. We had just gotten done saving a boy, I think, right?
Yeah, didn't we?
Yeah. So, sorry, I'm trying to get Twitch to play nice here.
Oh, yeah.
So, should we give everyone a quick recap of our characters as well, and then we can get back going in the scene of chaos and country crossroads?
For sure.
Yeah, I like that. All right, so Winston here is it's been exposed to a mix of vampire and fairy blood and exhibits the traits of both of them while trying to protect other, or I guess it would be other humans anymore, but they still kind of see themselves as one slightly, but protect those that cannot protect themselves from these monstrous things out in the world. And he's still kind of learning to control the fairy side of it a little bit. There's a little bit of something there he just hasn't quite got a hold on yet, and can be kind of random. And yeah, sometimes that skin does come a little sparkly, as was pointed out last time.
Okay. I think I'm gonna leave my favorite concept for the end, Gerald, so I'm gonna go ahead. I am Carlos, el hachero de Lara, basically a lumberjack with a big axe and a lot of, I am very much a plant person, tree guy, very over the garden wall situation. I have cool spiritual dogs, I have an axe, I have many plants and orchids growing from me, and I'm just searching for adventure outside of Venezuela. But if I need help, I can summon El Silbón for all my Venezuelan friends out there in the chat. You know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And That's me.
I guess
All
that's
right,
me.
and Don,
Yeah.
I think we've got you as well. Our friend
All right.
the Geralds.
Yep, the Geralds. Used to be one person, but due to a terrible experiment, his spirit was separated from his body, so now he just kind of follows his zombie body around as a disembodied spirit and tries really hard not to embarrass anyone.
Love it. So to recap those who are just dropping in, the game tonight is being set in a vaguely 1920s, 1930s fictionalized island setting in the Pacific Northwest. Our group of protagonists here are all connected through the city's hub of all the weird, spooky, monstrous, all unnatural denizens and citizens and oddballs on the periphery. A place called the Pines and Dimes Supper Club. And as we learned in the prologue last week, October, November, it's harvest season, the lumbering and timber season is about to really begin in earnest. And there was a celebration of the harvest coming in and the lumber work starting to begin out in the country at a rural crossroads where there was an old-timey roadhouse, Oleg's Roadhouse, run by the old man Oleg himself. And two individuals connected with the Pines and Dimes, ancient satyrs who had managed to make their way here to the Ghoul Islands in the city of Broome Harbor and connect with this network of people at the Pines and Dimes. Bacchanalian to the core for many thousands of years. They love wine and drink and celebration. And what's more connected with that ancient life than going to celebrate bringing in the harvest with wine and song and drink with good rustic folk? However, that was a Thursday night, and here we are Sunday afternoon, and nothing has been heard of these two fawns or satyrs in several days. No one's been able to reach anyone at the roadhouse, and so this group of three has been dispatched to head out into the country, make their way to the roadhouse, and figure out what's going on. And so as the group made it there, and I'm going to fly through our intros here, they made it here to the crossroads, where we have three primary focal points or zones that are being represented here. We have the exterior of the crossroads itself, where all the cars are still parked from Thursday night's festivities. There's a few buggies still because it's the country in the 1920s, and people still had horse and wagon and horse and buggies. The horses have gone off to feed themselves somewhere in the midst of this. We have the interior of the roadhouse that the group has not moved into yet. But then across catty corner on the roadhouse is this ancient and dilapidated, falling down old Orthodox church, because here in the Pacific Northwest was European explored originally by the Russians, who were fur traders and settlers in that way. And so that's an ancient old artifact at this point. As the party pulled up in their vehicle with Gerald's zombie form strapped to the top of the vehicle, golden move. They saw a young boy running and screaming pale male out towards the car as it pulled up, trying to get their attention. And chased behind it was this strange, writhing wooden form of an alien-looking tendril, made of plant material somehow, but moving and writhing, popping as it twisted and moved like a snake, but popping as wood does, with a sharp pointed end, with some sort of strange, almost intelligence or sentience. Being able to strike at the boy, and then as the group bailed out of the car itself, realizing that it had more targets, as it were. And so what we were able to see with the gameplay we had last week was that the group was able to rescue the boy and strike down this tendril before it was able to impale anybody or cause any more gruesome injuries. And so now we pick the scene up at that point where the boy has realized what's happening and has realized that it is not just normal people. It's not other farmers that have rolled up to the crossroads to save the day. It's not the local U.S. Marshals, territorial police, country cops, or sheriffs at all. It's something much stranger. And with the last roll we had of the night, we had our social kind of portent kickoff, representing how normal people interact with these strange, not entirely human characters. And so we have that acting as a portent in this scene of A Boy's Wonder. And that is at 7 out of 10. And so even though the kid is not reacting terrified or just with incredulity and cognitive dissonance and his brain just blanking out on him, like it really is this curiosity, awe, and wonder thing, that still can become very problematic very fast. And so that's sitting at a 7 out of 10. So that is something that the group is going to have to manage along with their character's own portents. But we have that happening right now. The larger, there's also a larger portent in play that we're calling Strange Magics Kept at Bay. And the party feels this chemoi, which is the vaguely magical elemental system in the game, a black bile just coating this area where they're at right now. And every so often there's almost like a pulse or a push where the colors at the edges, the peripheries of their vision, they all flash and grow. Everything goes brighter and more intense for just a moment. And it feels like there's something keeping weirder problems, weirder magic at bay. And so that's a 0 of 6 as well. And so we'll pick up now with the group. I'm trying to remember who went last because we ended our first turn and we've moved into more structured play here where we're turn-based because we have a larger challenge or danger that's being represented as the investigative question of where did the people go? Mm-hmm. And so that will be something that the team needs to work together to figure out how that works mechanically. If you are familiar with index card RPG and the system of effort, it's similar to that if you've had a chance to run that. If you haven't, just think of it that every challenge the party faces, every danger, whether it is a strange wooden tendril that is lurking over the party and striking like a snake, or whether that is a mystery investigation that they need to solve for. Everything has a pool of HP, effectively, that you are going to work against to bring down and unlock, the answer with a mystery or an investigation. And so, since I don't remember who was last to act, Peach, it sounded like you have a question.
I think the last person to act was Gerald's zombie, hogging the vine and bringing it to the ground.
Sweet.
Ending the
fight.
So,
since the Geralds were the last ones to act, Don, that means that you can choose, like everybody's back to green, as we see down here in the turns section down in the bottom left of the screen share. Mm-hmm. So when everybody acts, everybody gets flipped over to green again, and you can choose who starts the next round. And so this could be the boy. We will also, Google Slides, don't fail me now.
It broken.
It did. Well, the thing is, you can't edit stuff while it is in presentation mode. So there's a lot of things I like about being very low-fi with my online gaming here and not using a virtual tabletop. But in wanting to present some information and not make it totally theater of the mind, that means that I have to have it here in edit capabilities. So,
totally understandable.
Yeah, living the dream.
So I think from a story perspective, it makes the most sense for the boy to go next, to be honest.
Yeah.
Cool.
Officer, I dropped that child in self-defense.
Both of my kids have that shirt.
So I've added the mystery itself will act, and so circumstantial environmental factors basically will influence the scene, or you will have to react to them. and that's how that danger will mechanically also manifest, because it doesn't stay static. But so we'll mark over the boy. And so how this works is that these social portents have a they need to be checked every round, unlike other normal portents where you can just kind of like check them whenever you're in danger or whenever the NPCs are acting or I'm acting as a part of the PCs. That will happen every time. And so Winston, since you're the one that was right there, who pulled the kid out of danger and was able to use your did we ever figure out if it was the Fey part or the vampire part that gave you the speed and strength?
My assumption was the vampire part of that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this kid, about 12 years old, skinny as a beanpole, with kind of worn, and it's been patched and darned, clothes. Like, clearly this is probably some farm kid. Is looking up at you with like eyes like saucers, but not that he's terrified, but he's clearly like, the best analogy I have is from The Incredibles, the kid neighbor, when Mr. Incredible does his stuff and the kid's like, oh my God, that was amazing. That was awesome. Absolutely that sort of response, right? Like, whatever has caused him to go running out to get your attention as the vehicle pulled up, like, that's a secondary thing to him right now. He's like, how did you do that so fast? You ran, and then this. And he's starting to get more and more worked up, and he's getting louder as he goes on. So before we move into kind of whatever you want to do RP-wise in interacting with him, I am going to want a portent check to kind of mitigate the kid getting spun up and causing a scene here. And so how that'll play out is if you're going to kind of talk him down and like, hey kid, it's cool, whatever, then I'm going to want an isolation roll. And for these portent checks, it's always 6 or below, so you're going to want to roll low. If it is I don't think danger really applies to this so much. Sell me on hardship on some sort of like quick thinking, or if you've got doodads or whatever to kind of like buy him off. I'd be willing to saying that, but I kind of default to isolation in this.
Yeah, no, that makes sense with Winston, how he still sees himself as one of the people and tries to make sure he can pass when he can. So Winston's definitely going to go for talking the kid down and be like, yeah, no, hey, calm down, man. There was a lot going on here. Like, what's your name?
Oh man, my name's Jack McLennan. Our family's up the road here, like about a mile, and like, this is amazing. Like, I don't know, but like my folks, oh man, and kind of like in that moment, he starts to calm down just a little bit, and starts to explain like, well, yeah, my folks, there was this big harvest thing and all the grown-ups came in, and my folks haven't been back for a couple of days. And so to start to flesh out more of that, I think that'd be some powers checks directly related to where did the people go bit. But
I did get a 3 on the isolation check.
Perfect. Yeah. So he doesn't spin up anymore. Like, he's still like pretty amazed, and I we'll see how that happens whenever he gets his eyeballs on Gerald. But like, I've never seen anybody run that fast ever in my whole life, and this weird thing. But yeah, and so
I'll just be like, yeah. So do you have a favorite like superhero or secret agent kid?
Now I'm going to have to manufacture a cult adventurer, a fictional cult adventurer. Yeah, the Gray Cloak. Everyone's heard of the Gray Cloak. And Carlos, depending on how long you've been in the area, you might not know this. Winston and Gerald, are you two long-timers, your characters long-timers in this city, or...
In the Pacific Northwest, yeah, for
Sure.
Gerald, for Winston at least.
Yeah, for Gerald, he probably hasn't moved much past like the the island, I imagine.
Sure. So both of you know immediately that the Gray Cloak is a figure like the Phantom or the Shadow. He's got his own radio show. Is he a real, vigilante of the pulp era? Like, probably not. But that's like Batman, right? Growing up or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So known for his daring deeds and adventures, and every Friday at 8 o'clock on the radio station is the Adventures of the Gray Cloak. But even Gray Cloak can't run that fast. That's amazing. He has to have his motorcycle, and yeah. And so like I think that's a pretty good pivot over Winston to you. So I will pass the turn over to you. Now that we have successfully passed the portent check with the boy, young Jack McGlennon. And so what do you want to do? So you've got the larger kind of like mystery thing to solve at. Right now, we're still just kind of all sitting here in the exterior crossroads area by the roadhouse. So you can look around in there. If you want to move to either one of these focal points, then that's absolutely something you can do.
Yeah. Winston.
I have a question.
Oh, question? Go for it.
Yes. When other people are interacting with the NPCs, can we help them with their portent checks, or at least role playing wise? Because I have some ideas on what to do with the children. To help the investigation.
It really kind of is dependent on who is interacting with that portent most relevantly at a given point, because it kind of acts as its own own part of the turn order. And so next round, if no one is actively interacting with the kid Jack, then Carlos absolutely can take the lead on that. But in this moment, Winston was the dude that just grabbed him and pulled him out of trouble, so it kind of made sense to make him make the roll for it.
So cool. Winston's gonna go, all right, well, like, I don't know the Gray Cloak, Jack, but me and my friends here, we're the good guys, like the Gray Cloak. We're trying to make keep everyone safe and figure out what's going on. So that vine, man, that was really weird. Let's in case there's something else around, let's go ahead and go inside the diner over here so you can like give us a little more information, okay?
Yeah.
And just start like having him lead me or lead him towards the diner, because I don't know if there's gonna be more of those vines coming or what. I'm like kind of looking around periodically just to make sure another one doesn't come shooting out towards us or anything. But
yeah, you hear the kind of some weird popping, like trees moving in the breeze or the cracking of heavy branches, but it's hard to kind of like pinpoint where it is. But it's exterior, right? So like the kid takes you into the roadhouse, and when you get in there, it's totally empty, but it doesn't look like there's no like blood or viscera on the walls. It's just empty. Beyond that, I'm definitely gonna want you to make some checks and kind of tell me what you're looking for. We'll go from there.
Yeah, just I'm gonna take a quick look around the diner, see if anything stands out as besides it being completely empty, but there being transportation outside. See if anything stands out as being abnormal, out of the ordinary, while asking the kid to like tell us what he knows about like what happened with the vine and how he encountered that.
Yeah, I think that those are kind of like two different tracks, right? Like one is definitely isolation, kind of seeing how normal I can be while I'm talking to the kid, and seeing if I can get him to kind of tell me kind of how everything's going. And I would say that's definitely like an isolation power check. Secondly, kind of just like taking a look around for yourself, paying attention to the margins, like being crafty and like being like, if I was up to no good, like where would I get into things? is probably going to be like more of a hardship power check.
Okay.
And then obviously adding any powers that you might want to use at this point. Tell me how those might be relevant.
Actually, I don't know that any of them really are right now.
Okay.
If I'm being honest. I just put strength and speed. I didn't put any other heightened senses. And
well, I mean, you've got your Fey, illusion, and glamour. So if you want to add that to your interaction with the kid.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that. Yeah, some like having the ability to change appearance ever so slightly to look a little more normal, so the kid maybe feels a little more at ease and not just eyes wide like, oh my gosh,
so crazy.
Yeah, just to try and
this is amazing. Yeah, I'll definitely give you that. I'll give you that.
Okay.
So rolling your isolation die, which is the D6.
Okay. And we're looking for
6 plus.
All right. So 6 plus. Okay. Well then, let's see. That is 4 plus 2. That is 6 exactly.
Nice. Just barely.
Very nice.
Barely make it.
And then a hardship roll just for a quick glance around.
So I feel like that's like a pretty good action, like you do in one thing.
Okay, yeah.
Typically, I'll only ask for multiple powers checks, or sometimes like a portent check followed by the power check if you're trying to do something particularly like complex or different. Like, I'm gonna attack a dragon. Well, you got to get past the claws first, like that sort of thing, right? Like this is all pretty straightforward. So,
all right.
Still, you get the feeling that the hemoi of black bile, the hemos of black bile, just coats this area. So remind me what you are strong against.
I am actually weak against that.
Okay, cool. Well, that has no mechanical effect. Weakness only comes into play on portent checks. So good thing that you passed the one earlier. But yeah, as you look around, but that still counts as a success. And so as you look around, like there is one thing that looks really out of place for a rural country roadhouse, bar, grill, restaurant in the middle of this island and the lumbering and the farmland that goes around here. Is you see a set of immaculate, ornate, and carved and stylized Greek panpipes that are sitting on one of the tables in the midst of half drunk, totally illegal mugs of beer and other spirits, and, tea probably as well for the non-drinkers, because this was like a not everybody's.
Prohibition era.
What was that?
Said Prohibition era.
Well, yeah, Prohibition era. Exactly.
Are we in the Prohibition era?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you grab these set of pipes, and as you touch them, you get the immediate sense of the smell of brimstone and rot just kind of wafting off of them, which isn't necessarily evil, right? But rot is one of the 5 kaimoi, and that these things are very much aligned with that and attuned with that. And knowing that, we have 2 ancient Grecian, mythological figures, which are also, not human, it seems to stick out in your mind oddly that, this is clearly some sort of artifact of some sort that's sitting there on the table, discarded in some way. But yeah, so what we'll do there is, I'm just going to make a copy and paste here, put this on the screen.
I think while I'm looking at that, I'll pass it over to Carlos by calling Carlos in too to take a look, because I feel like Carlos maybe might have a little better insight into these pipes. Maybe not, but when Carlos does a lot of things with a more mystical side, so Winston's hoping.
Yeah, here we go, Carlos.
Okay, so passing it to Carlos.
Can we start interacting or?
Carlos, so you hear Winston hollering for you from the inside of the roadhouse. Hey man, come take a look at this thing.
Okay. So first of all, I'm gonna say, damn, floppy guy, you hit that thing hard. And I'm just gonna bend down a little bit, help Gerard up, my good zombie friend. Help them up. Before anything, before I go in and help, I'm gonna see if I can still sense any sort of bile and magic in the vicinity after this vine attack.
Yeah,
Is that
absolutely.
possible?
And typically, I don't make anybody roll for that. Like you all are non-human characters who are well familiar with the different ways that the different chymos, a given chymos will manifest itself, and they don't hide if you are also a non-human person that's attuned to this stuff. And so you definitely feel that there's black bile, which typically can be suffering or pain, but also then creativity as well. But that's just kind of wafting off the roadhouse itself, because Hymoroi can attach themselves to scenes of mental human experience stuff, as well as kind of being attached to specific artifacts or individuals. Like all three of you are attuned to that stuff as well. So you get the sense of that black bile kind of coming out of the roadhouse itself. Just generally, it's hard to pinpoint anything, but just off of the now desiccating, drying out, dissolving out form of that tendril that you helped Gerald up. As you help Gerald up, you can also feel just the fading quality of ichor off of this tendril, which gives your mouth starts to dry out and turn to sandpaper. And as you get that sensation, your eyes kind of look up and look across the crossroads to the old church that, no lights, boarded up windows, like this thing's old and abandoned at this point. But you also then start to pick up that same sensation of ichor from across the road as well.
Ooh, well, that's fucking creepy. Not like Catholics were the best around my town. I don't think American Catholics can be any better. I will go into the diner, and as I'm going in, seeing the kids and the thing, I'm just gonna ask Winston, "What's up? What do you need?"
Winston's gonna hand him pipes and be like, "This is tied to the people that are missing, but I don't know. Maybe you can figure out something I can't."
Okay, that's weird. Can I see anything in the? Is it pipes? Is it like?
Yeah, like a pan pipes,
Like
that sort of thing, Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've made some of this myself, but do these seem strange? Do they have anything special to them that I can notice furthermore?
Yeah. Give me a hardship powers check.
Here we go.
Go. You can do it.
So
Which
you're going to
one
want
should it be?
powers check. You're going to want 6+.
Okay, and remind me again the die that I have to throw in the
hardship dice. Looking at the character keeper, looks like you chose a 6, and so hardship in powers checks represents like creative thinking, quick thinking. If you want to sell me on isolation, which is more esoteric or social abilities or knowledge, then I'd be willing to kind of like run with that if you can sell me on that. But if you're really trying to like figure out the physical object, then that's generally more what I would ask for a hardship roll on. But from there, if you have any powers that would be relevant in figuring that out, and we don't have any powers yet in the scene other than the pipes, which I'll explain in a moment, then tell me, you know.
Okay, so I'll roll at D6 plus
do you
what?
have any powers that would be relevant to helping you figure this, the nature of these magical panpipes out more? Your dogs or the whistler, would either one of those be relevant?
I think mainly my mucuchillas, yes, my dogs, because I am very keen to nature. Like they have a very keen scent to nature magical stuff.
Okay, so that's one of the interesting things about these open-ended powers descriptions and just these rules in general, is there's definitely like some negotiation and defining kind of what the limits of certain powers and abilities are. So are we saying that your dogs are just kind of nature-aligned spirits that tell you more?
Yes,
okay. Sure.
very much so.
Yeah, I'll give you that. So the bonus on that, one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull out and say, "Patito, pato, pato, pato," and you're gonna see from my jacket. Suddenly, there's just gonna be a little puppy that pops up, and it's gonna slowly grow into a big dog, a big mucuchilla that looks a lot like a. You can stretch it out. It's a big dog, very beautiful. And I'll just hand the pan and say, "Do you sniff anything? What's up, buddy?"
I like it.
Yeah, so give me a roll.
Come on.
Okay. Ooh. Oh, that's 1d6 plus 1,
so
right?
Need a 6 plus. Oh. So what you can do, if you're not successful, you can take points, add points to your portents, to then also add points to your rolls. So you need 2 points here, and you've got a lot of portents to work with. So your character has portents. Obviously, you have your wilting plant body thing. But then we also have 2 portents in the scene that you could totally tap into. We have the strange magics being kept at bay that has 0 right now.
Do it.
The Boys Wonder is sitting at a 7 out of 10, so I wouldn't touch that one.
Maybe not that one.
So I think the kid like looks at the dog, transforming from a puppy to a big dog, and goes like, "What? That's so cute! That's so cool!" So I'm gonna take 2 points from a Boys Wonder.
Oh man!
And I'm gonna put it into that.
Yeah. So the kid totally like is amazed, right? Like, and does that super annoying, like God bless the children of the world, but does that super annoying like kid screech, you know, when they're like so excited and just like just hurt your ears. Yeah, and almost in response, Gerald, and you hear the screech even outside, and Gerald, you notice this, I think, probably more than the people inside the roadhouse. Maybe move your icon over there. That sound of moving, bending trees and the cracking of wood and stuff, you hear that almost as a response to the shouting and shrieking of the kid from the inside of the roadhouse. But I will say that Carlos, you're able to figure out that, oh wait, these have to be the panpipes that let me pull up my list of NPC names here. So I'm the world's most unorganized GM. I tell you what, that's a fact. Talos, one of the 2 satyrs that came up to celebrate here. Everybody knows that he loves his panpipes and will play them. And that's where that sense of rot chemoi is attached to them, because he's a mythological, completely not human creature. And so what we will say is that these are arcane panpipes that have the rot chemoi attached to them, or chemos attached to them.
Okay.
And I will also, because we got a successful roll, I'll also count that as being towards our larger investigation roll of where did the people go. What chemos are you strong against?
I am Phlegm, so I don't have the archive here.
Eager and Black Bile.
Nice. Sweet.
Yes, Ichor and Black.
So the strength there, when you are strong,
Let me
acting
open
against
those
another
Ready?
chemos, whether that is scene based, whether that is individual artifact, character, danger, whatever based, then you get double the hits. So you get 2 hits instead of 1. And so, yeah, you are able to realize that, okay, we'll start to put the puzzle pieces together here, that why would Talthos leave his pipes? Because he loves these things. And whatever happened, people clearly left, but they left their vehicles, they left their drinks, there's rotting food on plates. And there wasn't, like I said earlier, there wasn't a fight or violence, it looks like. But somehow people have left. And so, Gerald, I'm going to pass it. Well, you tell me, Carlos. Sorry. I don't get to make that call. You were the one acting.
Okay.
We have.
After that, after seeing that, you say, "Oh shit! Sorry. This is why I should stay in the wood. Kids, I cannot manage those, but I'll just say, Patito, go play with the child. Just go play with him. I'll send my Mukuchia to the child and let him get excited a little bit more. Well, Winston, I think it's time to call Geraldine because I sense some creepy stuff coming from that church as well, and this is not looking good."
Okay. So passing it to
And
Gerald.
I'll call in Gerald.
Who's still out in the crossroads outside.
And kind of meandering around. And Gerald's like, all right, we need to go to the building. Building. Come on, building. And it looks like, building. And starts walking towards the church instead. I'm like, no!
Wrong other building.
So yeah, Gerald's probably wandering kind of a diagonal path straight towards the church instead at this point.
Okay. So are you heading to the church proper?
Yep.
That's like one of the focal points?
Yep.
Sweet. Just what I wanted. Let me pull out my scratch pad here. Also my super lo-fi gaming technique here.
Heck yeah. 100%.
As you make your way towards the church, or as Zombie Gerald makes his way towards the church.
I'm like, no, the other way, stupid.
The other building. That cracking and popping of the noise of the wood that was very, very similar to the cracking and popping that the tendril made that was going after the boy, starts to make a bunch of noise again, and coming out of a broken hole of the church in the side of the wall, because the doors are boarded up, the windows are boarded up, but this thing's rotting and starting to fall down and collapse on itself. But bursting out with a figure impaled upon it is another vine, and so we will call this the church vine, or church tendril. And writhing upon this thing is clearly the impaled figure of Talthos the Satyr. bleeding out, and the vine has pierced his body and wrapped around his neck. It is clearly shifting and moving, and you hear the voice of Talthos in a raspy way that almost you can tell that the tendril is compressing his lungs and diaphragm, forcing air up and manipulating his voice. It says, "More have come, bringing power to feed us, to bring us sustenance." And so now that becomes a danger in and of itself that the party, well, if you want to deal with, you can, but I mean, you can ignore it. Totally, if you want, of course, to your detriment. But, so yeah, this thing comes bursting out. And so tell me kind of what you want to do from there, because that appears as you make your way in towards the church.
The spirit Gerald's like, no, turn around. You know how hard it is to get somebody to put you back together? No.
Okay. Do you want to move back to back away from the church, back to the roadhouse, or?
Trying to think of what zombie Gerald would actually do, though. Let's see. Smart or stupid? That's a good question. Odd or even? It's more fun that way. Odd, so dumb. Okay, well, I mean, zombie Gerald's just gonna try to zombie juggernaut to the building. Like, he's just gonna keep moving that way while Gerald's placating and screaming at him about 10 feet behind. Being like, stop! Just
don't
stop!
No. Okay, so mechanically, what are you trying to accomplish with that?
He's just trying to get to the actual building. I know this thing's probably going to impose itself, so...
Okay. So the old Orthodox church building, or the roadhouse building? Okay.
Yeah, and still moving forward, unfortunately. I'd only rolled even.
Okay. Yeah, if you're wanting to get to the church, then I'm going to want a power check to kind of get around or through this tendril, as it's, definitely trying to interdict you for certain.
Yeah. Okay. And that would probably be danger, I imagine, because he's not really doing anything super smart or clever.
Yeah, that's absolutely. Give me a danger check.
Do you think undead fortitude would count in this?
Yeah.
Because he's just kind of doggedly moving through, not really being aggressive, but just powering through or trying to. That with the bonus would be a 9. I rolled a 6.
Nice. Yeah, so I'll even let you kind of spin that as going against the tendril itself. And so knowing that the tendril, here's a question. Since the sentient bit of the Geralds lies with the spirit, and knowing that, metaphysical ectoplasmic spirit, but with the world building, the 5 different chemoi physically kind of manifest themselves with the senses. How do you want to say that plays out? Does zombie Gerald get this sensation but just doesn't notice or appreciate it? Or do you still get, because your consciousness is alive and kicking, do you still feel those physical senses kind of like as a tether through the zombie connection sort of thing?
I think that it's like it's almost like a, what do you call it, depersonalization, where it's can still tell it's happening, but it's almost like behind a TV screen, if that makes sense. There's a degree of separation between Gerald and reality. Like, he can tell it's there, but it's not really well defined, if that makes sense.
Nice. Yeah. So, and I guess that kind of makes sense with, you being Icar aligned and these tendrils also being Icar aligned. It's like I recognize this. It's like we're both the same substance in some ways, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're able to kind of how does that look like? If this tendril with keeping this body suspended on the end of it, so it's not able to kind of strike like a snake, but it's able to certainly get in your way and obstruct you.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
I would imagine it's like you can see the smaller like tendrils and stuff trying to interpose while it's doing its bit of its what do you call that? You know, its discourse and trying to talk and that sort of thing. And Gerald just keeps moving and slowly uttering building. Like it's almost like this, you know, very slow locomotive force that's just kind of pulling everything away as it's moving.
Yeah, I dig it. Yeah, nice. So you're able to kind of just like keep moving forward, and you get to. Are you going to try to go in through the kind of opening in the side wall that's been all busted and rotting?
Probably. Meanwhile, Spirit Gerald's going like this. Just stop. Just stop. We're gonna die.
Not what we want to do, but
Again.
No. So for the purposes of this scene, the entire kind of fall down, rotting Orthodox Church is just its own focal point, so we won't worry about calling out an interior to that since it's kind of busted anyway.
Yeah.
But we'll resolve kind of like whatever you see in there, I think, on your next turn. And so I think we call that pretty good because you got a successful power check out of that. And there's only one option left right now, which is the mystery, but then the Vine has made an appearance.
Yeah, Vine video.
So,
Poor Gerald is like the worst version of Shinji possible.
So Don, you get to choose whoever goes next. Both of your options are de facto me. So,
Yep. Let's go with the
tell
mystery
me which one you want to
first.
start with, really.
I know the church vine's gonna hurt. The mystery will be fun.
So we want to go with the mystery?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so how this is going to manifest itself is that portent of strange magics being kept at bay. This is going to, now with the church vine being revealed, with Portalthos on the end being whipped around like a rag doll, that sense of rot magic, or the rot chymos, just kind of blasts and radiates out from him and hits everybody. And so what I'm going to want to see someone respond to, and I think it needs to be Gerald because you're the one in proximity, right?
Yep. Sure.
Is give me, and this will be a danger roll because it's, you know, kind of like the chaos unfolding at the moment.
Gotcha.
Give me a danger portent check against strange magics kept at bay, because now, like, Talthos' life force really is like, he doesn't have long to keep whatever's going on here at bay, is what you kind of think is happening. So right now, the way, just remind everybody, the way portent checks work, even though we've had one, is you're rolling your whatever peril die is appropriate, and you were saying it's power, the danger one. You're adding whatever portent is being targeted. And so portents start at 0 and they slowly crank up over time. And when they max out, you know, like possibly young Jack McLennan going nuts. Bad things happen. Bad things happen. So in this case, strange magics kept at bay is still at 0. So you're not adding anything, but we're still going to need a 6 or below. So you want to roll low on portent checks.
Got a 4.
Nice. Yeah, so it blasts and it kind of bounces off of zombie Gerald, and you know, that's kind of depersonalization thing. You kind of like feel this reverberation of, and then just in a moment, kind of like this sense of like you imagine smelling, I suppose, brimstone and kind of rotting flesh and stuff. But in that instance, you see Talthos, you know, kind of try to pull at, you know, where he's been impaled through the torso.
Nice.
But that he's maintaining his grip on life and consciousness, and so he's keeping whatever he can do at bay. In the roadhouse, though, you all notice those pipes kind of rattle and move on their own. And you might feel the slightest pulse of that emanation of rock hemos kind of make its way through the roadhouse if it kind of like burst out like an explosion in an expanding circle, right? But nothing crazy.
Okay.
So nice, very well done. Good roll, rolling that 4. And there's only one thing left, and it's me as well. So, ta-da! I choose myself to go because I'm the last one in the order. And yeah, I'm sorry, Don, but like you are in the locus of bad things.
Oh yeah, no, this is perfectly great. This is what I expected from this character. 100% expected it.
The vine, you have disturbed the vine, right?
Yep.
And so it starts to again swing back at you, possibly using Talthos even as a cudgel to do so. And so this is definitely probably a danger check unless you want to get clever, which would be hardship. I don't know how clever Zombie Gerald could be, but you do have that occasional possession thing. So you tell me how you would respond to this. The portent we're going to test is going to be probably deteriorating body, the damage that could be done. Also, if you want to use the strange magics kept at bay, like I totally think that's relevant as well, because poor Talthos is on the bad receiving end of this.
Honestly, I think at this point, poor Gerald, the spirit, is going to be like, I know this is going to really hurt, and he just like dives forward into the body, and he's going to try to grab onto this poor satyr's body and just kind of like push backwards with both legs and rip him out of there as hard as he can. Oof. It's going to be bad, but
okay. So this is an example of particularly complex multi-part things. I'm going to want a couple of checks on, right?
Fair.
So, to successfully maneuver yourself in there feels like a danger roll. To be quick thinking enough to pull this off, especially as Zombie Gerald, I'm going to want a hardship roll. So to put yourself in play, give me a danger portent check.
Okay. Danger portent check.
And you don't add your powers to this. You're only adding relevant portents. Again, all yours are sitting at 0 right now, so you should be pretty good.
Not for long, but that is a 6.
Oh, nice. Cool. So, Zombie Gerald goes barreling into this. You're like, okay, just grab him and yank him off. Like,
come on.
Off the tendril. Come on. Okay, so sweet. So you're in there. You're able to do it. Now give me that hardship portent check to pry him loose. And I think this is probably going to be against strange magics kept at bay, because what you're trying to free Talthos on.
Oof. Yep, gonna have to spend at least. That was a 7. So
cool. So with portent checks, it's not like powers checks where you can dip into portents, because that's what you're doing right now.
Yep.
Well, you were able to kind of get in the way and obstruct the tendril, right? And maybe you can get your hands on Talthos, but just unable to get him freed. And in fact, kind of mangling him around and moving him around, I think probably tears him up a little bit more than anything else. And so that strange magic kept at bay portent will go up to 1 now. And so the next time we have to roll against that, whoever does adds a 1 to make that roll. And so with that said, that's the end of the turn order, and everybody goes back to green. Since I was the last one to act, I get to start out the next round. And the sneaky bit of how popcorn initiative like this goes is if I wanted to be a real jerk, then I could just double act and have the vine, the larger mystery, and even the kids portent all play out at once, which would be really rough. And I don't want to do that. So,
are you sure?
Yeah, at least at this point, I might turn it
chaos
as the night goes on. But right now, so Carlos or Winston, I'll let it be either one of you. We'll kind of the camera shifts back to the interior of the roadhouse as you all just kind of saw the panpipes shift as that wave of rot attuned chemos kind of wafted over everybody.
I think it's going to be Carlos because Carlos was getting ready to call for Gerald anyway. So I think Carlos would be kind of almost between the scenes at this moment.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll just be on the diner. I'll be like, Gerald! Jesus, I hope there's no cops around here because Gerald looks way too drunk already. What's that guy doing? I'm just gonna step out. I'm gonna say, Winston, check for the kid. This is kind of creepy. I'm gonna step out. Can I see Gerald in the vicinity?
Yeah, like you can
Interacting
move from focal point to focal point. Like that's not going to require anything. So you don't want to interact with the vine. You need to be kind of around the church. You want to head there, or do you just want to stay out in the kind of crossroads parking lot outside the roadhouse?
Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I guess I can see through the window that there's no Gerald anywhere.
Sure.
At least not near. And I'll just head to Winston. I'll say, "Hey, I think it's time to see where did this person go, and I don't know what to do about this kid. What do you think? I'm thinking I'm just living with Patito, sit him here, and we just go do our little monster thingamajiggas."
I think that's good. Well, I'll let him play with the dog. Tell him to stay put, and go out and see if we can figure out what's going on. And
Because the rot, the missing part, the booze, this is not going well so far.
yeah, I'll
And it's my first job on this goddamn island. I don't know why did I come to America, but
Yep.
let's see
So
what
you've
happens.
got two dangers.
So I'll just
Okay.
indicate my dog to stay with the kid. I'll tell the kid like, hey, you can Jack. That was your name, right?
Yeah, Mister Jack McClintock.
Pato. Okay. Oh, you're a silly goofy kid. Okay. This is Pato. Pato is a good friend of mine. They have taken care of many, many animals and mountains in the past, and they're gonna be here with you until we can find your parents.
I'll
How
take
does that
care of
sound,
him.
man?
I'll take care of him, Mister. You got it. Yeah.
That's a great idea. I tell you what, I know my friend Winston doesn't want to admit it, but between you and me, he is the Cape guy. So do as he says, and just stay here. Be a good boy. We'll see you
I'll
later.
stay
Yeah.
with the dog. And he looks at Winston like he's not really buying what Carlos is selling here, but like it's a weird spirit dog. So like this is he's still worried about his parents, but this is pretty awesome. Like in the midst of it, right?
And I'm just gonna say, Winston, I think let's head out.
So-
Let's get out of here.
Okay.
And see, I'll head to the church and pass it on to Winston while we head
And
to the
I'll
church.
totally let you make a powers check of some sort to contribute to the situation. So because you can move from the inside of the roadhouse over across the crossroads to the church, no problem. So there are like mechanically you have two dangers to deal with right now. Like you've got now the church tendril to subdue. But then there's still, you're still trying to put the puzzle pieces together on where did the people go, which is, mechanically just as much a threat as the tendril is.
So I think because of what I sensed before when I was checking the vine on the church, I'm gonna want to head there, but I can head like through the buildings.
Yeah, we'll just say how this is set up is that the inside of the roadhouse would then lead you to the exterior scene here in the bottom right. But then we'll just let you move all the way to the church. That's not a problem.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll roll a danger dice for.
So tell me what you would like to
What?
accomplish with your turn in addition to moving towards the church.
Okay, so what I want to do is first of all handle the kid. Make sure he's gonna be safe in there. Second of all, I want to get the group together and see what's going on within the church, because I really don't want to move alone in this place, and I think it would be best to.
Yeah. So yeah,
So I'm just gonna head to the church, and because what's going on there, there's nothing.
Sure.
Really planned.
Okay. So and that's all you want to do with your turn is just get to the church. Then I'll let you get to the church. Not a problem. Okay. And so who do you nominate to go next?
I'll see if Winston wants to come along. So
yeah, Winston will grab the pipes, just kind of like hesitate for a second, maybe grab the pipes, hesitate for another second to see if anything weird happens or he feels anything, and then follow Carlos outside.
Yeah, the only thing you notice with the pipes is it's very clearly attuned to the rock chemoid. Okay. But there's no awfulness or anything that happens. It's just that's its nature.
All right, then follow Carlos outside and
as the two of you make your way over to across the crossroads to the old Orthodox Church, you see this tendril, which is much larger than the one that was chasing down the boy when you arrived on scene. And this thing still has, it's almost like a weird tug-of-war sort of thing is happening at this point, because you guys probably arrived as Zombie Gerald was trying to take friends sort of thing, right? And it's not, this is an exaggeration, but the movement is like a fire hose that's out of control that someone's trying to hold down, right? If you can parse that with a more rigidity, because it is fundamentally made of wood and fibrous natural, tissue, not tissues, but structures, right? Mm-hmm. But it's kind of doing this thing while Gerald's holding it down. And, even from not up close, from a distance, you hear the groaning of pain that clearly Talthos Satyr is enduring to be stuck in the middle of this whole thing. But yeah, so you can get over there if you want to make a powers check to either kind of get a better handle on environmentally, circumstantially, like where did the people go, or to directly confront the church tendril. Both of those are totally helpful, valid ideas.
So I'm just going to go for it because I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but I'm going to see if using his pipes does anything.
Yeah. Okay.
Straight up Green Power Ranger.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. So give me a hardship powers check. I will give you the +3 from the pan pipes.
That is 6 plus 3 is 9.
Nice. How, positionally, even though this is not asked from a tactical standpoint, just narrative set dressing, where are you when you do this?
Gonna be in the area of the church,
right,
for sure, because I'll this idea was kind of occurring to Winston beforehand, but then seeing one of the satyrs on the vine, and feeling that maybe seeing that they're still alive, being fairly close, not as close as Gerald, but
okay. So I'll say both you and Gerald both notice that as you play. Do you know how to play? Are you vaguely musical, or is this just like shit, boop, 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 like whatever you can do on this thing?
Old school
It's,
harmonica style. Just
Yeah, so I feel like over the years, Winston just kind of dabbles in different things, trying to pick different things up. So they're not gonna wow anybody with their skills,
Okay.
but they have a little bit of an idea, like how to play. Like maybe they're like doing the recorder style thing you learn in
Mary
school.
has
Like,
a little lamb
yeah,
or something
exactly.
like that.
Yeah,
Llama llama.
yeah.
Mary has a little llama. Yeah.
Quick Coursera course coming in hand.
But it works. Like whatever you and the vine itself unaffected entirely.
Okay.
But whatever rustling that Gerald and then now Winston, you as you got closer to the church, were hearing from inside stops. So, yeah. That's all you notice.
Oh, okay.
And that's a pretty good turn. So, who do you want to hand it off to?
I feel like it needs to go to Strange Magics at this point.
Perfect.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
the only portent that would get its own place in the turn order is that social portent of the kid.
Okay.
The Strange Magics Kept at Bay acts as any other portent that you can kind of invoke on your turn if you don't want to use your own, right? So we could say that the mystery itself, though, gets a turn, which could then leverage that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think with this one, then, as you're all kind of moving up close, we will say then, there you go, that with the blowing of the pipe, poor Talthos is, getting pulled back and forth, still impaled, still, slowly, doesn't have much longer left, but looks to you and can't speak, because he's got his larynx controlled by the woody vines, but gives you this like what the hell look, and in another moment, that sensation of power emanating from the satyr blasts out again as the tendril thrashes around, and so. Winston, I'm going to want you to give me a danger power check using Strange Magics Kept at Bay. And so here that means we'll add a 1 to your roll, and you're going to try and roll 6 or below.
Ooh, okay. D10 plus 1 is 6 or below.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. That's a 10 on the die.
Nope.
Oh, man. Rough. And this is definitely again kind of ties back into that black bile, the sense of suffering that's happening in the space, and you are unfortunately nope, you are weak against black bile, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so that means that cranks up by 2. Yeah, so in that, like, Winston's reaction to seeing, you have presumably his pipes, you're playing them, he's impaled on this vine, and in the moment, like you almost see him weaken just a little bit more up on this thing, but yeah, was not the best, not the best moment. And so then I'm going to tap myself into this. So I'm going to say that the church vine goes next.
Yep.
And in that, I think this is just another example. The tug of war continues, right? And so, Gerald, I'm going to want another danger roll, either against Strange Magics Kept at Bay or your own character's deteriorating body. Or the brain. bit. You tell me which would make more sense.
I think the deteriorating body would make more sense at this point.
Okay.
And
Yeah, because it's not necessarily trying to pull back away from you at this point, but like it's like, oh, you want to hold on to this, fine, and it's just kind of like trying to smash you up against the rotting wall of the church, using Talthus's body as a bit of a battering ram.
Okay, and that's just a straight danger roll.
Yep, because you are currently at 0 for your portents, so yeah, you're not adding anything to this.
Okay, 2.
Okay, and you're Icker, it's Icker, so nice, yeah. So you manage to avoid that. What does that look like? Do you just kind of cartoon style get smashed, but you're a zombie, so you don't react to the pain, or do you?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just there's no internal organs to damage, really. I mean,
Nice.
he might walk and it sounds like a bag of Legos later, but
Sure. Nice. Yeah, well, and I think that makes it a perfectly narrative sense to pass the turn over to you then.
all right. Well, Gerald's just gonna try to pull this thing off. I mean, at this point, he's committed. So he's gonna try to pull the satyr off again.
Okay.
Again.
Yeah, so no danger roll needed because we've already established kind of you're there in the mix of things at this point, but it's definitely like a sneaky, smart thinking in the moment deal, which is definitely going to be a hardship roll.
All right.
And depending on how you want to do this, I think on natural strength, I'd give that to you in this context for sure.
Yeah, that would be an 11 because I rolled a 10.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Yeah. So in the moment, it's not even that you pull him completely off of the tendrils because he's all kind of wrapped up in it.
Yeah,
at that point. But you're able to. You have a natural strength, so in the moment you're able to kind of get your hands on the satyr's body and then the vine itself, and kind of do this like twisty, snappy sort of thing, like. Spirit Gerald is telling Zombie Gerald, grab it here, like right here, and then pull it this way. And
you
like, come on, yeah, you can do this.
Patty cake, you can do this. I believe you.
Yeah, and in that moment, yeah, you're able to. It snaps, and you're able to kind of free Talthos, because similarly to when you destroyed the first tendril. In an instant, magically, supernaturally, like it kind of immediately starts to desiccate and crisp up, right? And so in that, like, he kind of does Zombie Gerald hold on to him, or just
he's holding on to him, and he goes, friend.
Friend. He coughs up some blood.
Just turn and hold him up, kind of like the baby from the Lion King, Friend!
Friend! And at that point, Jack McGlennon has, of course, stepped out onto the front doors of
Perfect. Poor kid is going to lose his mind.
Yeah, well, and in the previous portent check last turn, I admittedly forgot my own daggum rules.
Because to roll every turn.
Well, we did roll last turn, but we didn't add the existing portent score. Now that we're over 6, like, this thing's going to crank up every time.
Yeah.
Because Winston rolled so terribly to start out. I can make somebody roll, but de facto it's just going to tick up regardless, right? Because it's already at 9 out of 10. And there's nothing you can do to roll under 6 at that point. So then here's the question I have for the group. When portents hit their max, significant complications happen. Sometimes that means character death. As a GM, I'm not here to kill characters unless it makes sense in the narrative, and that's like a time for the character to kind of make their exit in the story. But the kid loses his mind at this point, right? Like this is, you know, it's weird that his parents are here, but like this is like a gray ghost or a gray cloak, you know, radio adventure brought to life in front of his very eyes. Like he's read the pulps, he reads his comic books, like this is it. And so, what does that look like for this kid? Because to me, that reads like, oh, he's running right in the midst of this. Is what that.
Yep.
Yeah. He's
He is now the Great Cloak.
Yeah,
in the way.
I think you just. Yeah,
At least in
I
his
imagine
mind.
the kid just like grabbing a cleaver from the kitchen and riding Pato, my dog, into the church. Just like, yeah, we're going into battle. I'm gonna rescue my dad. There we go, Mom. I'm going for you. Just
Oh.
very unfortunate.
Yeah, I think that might be what happens here. Right?
Yeah.
Like probably not riding the spiritual dog, but like he comes bursting out of that door with, you know, a cleaver from the kitchen or a stick or something, right? Like he's like, I'm here. This is amazing. Like I'm here to help, and totally goes flying into this chaos as it's happening. And in the moment, having been freed from this weight on the end, kind of as a lever or fulcrum, the way to Talthos, this big heavy vine that's, you know, like solid around, like moving unnaturally fast for its weight and density, goes flying back around and hits the kid.
Yep.
And sends the kid flying back, just inert, total ragdoll. And so that takes the portent off the board mechanically, but is definitely something that the group's going to have to confront and deal with sometime in the midst of all this. But that does wrap up the round. So it goes back to green. That was me being the last person to move. Everybody now is in the churchyard. So yeah, Winston, like you were the one that had the moment with the kid earlier, so I think it makes sense narratively for your character to kind of take the lead this turn.
Oh, buddy.
So you're still no closer to figuring out where everybody is. You've got the danger of the tendril just flying around everywhere. And then this kid just, you know, decided he was going to be the Gray Cloak. Now that he has superheroes around him, not treating the situation with its seriousness, and who knows what just happened to him, right?
All right. So if it's not obvious what condition he's in, Winston's gonna go, Gerald, catch, and throw the pipes, and then go to check on the kid.
It just like bounces off the side of his head, and he's like, "Why?"
And then like go over to check on the kid.
Yeah, he's in a bad way, for certain. Somebody give me an odds or evens die roll. Odds is he is just immediately got killed by the way he landed. Odds are has a few moments left. Just whatever. Odds are even. So odds are bad. Evens are still bad, but a moment of lucidity left.
Evens.
Okay. Someone said even.
Oh, someone roll.
No rolling.
Who's rolling?
Jeff, you can roll since you're the one acting.
Oh, that's an odd.
Oh.
Your super speed just wasn't super
Little
enough,
Jack Lollipop
dude.
or something.
Super speed wasn't quite enough.
Getting rocked by this big, basically log, effectively getting swung like a giant baseball bat, effectively. Just rocked him, and that was too much for his little body to handle. Between that and the way he landed, it's like getting hit by a telephone pole. Yeah. That's a good way to frame it. Yep. And so there's nothing to be done for him at this point. So what do you do in response to that?
All right, Winston is definitely upset, a little angry right now about what's going on, and so they gotta prevent this from happening to anyone else if any of the other people are still around. So Winston's gonna try to get by what's left of the vine into the church because something's going on in the church.
Sure. Okay. So give me a danger power check to get around the vine as it's moving.
All right. So I'm gonna throw in the super speed or strength as a power to help me through this and get around it.
Sure.
So that's a 4 plus 3 is a 7.
Nice. Yeah, you're able to bound over it, and probably come pretty close to Gerald, who was kind of right there, and bounding over the figure of Talthos on the ground. Canonically, are we saying that Gerald did not catch the pipes, so they're also just kind of on the ground as well?
Yep.
Okay, that's cool.
But Gerald's also holding the owner of the pipes, so.
Oh, you're still holding him up like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
That's why it bounced off his head. He's like, "Why?"
Yeah.
And then Spirit Gerald's like, "Stupid, do something."
You see 3 figures standing kind of around a central section of the wood plank floor of this old church that has also rotted out, but also been kind of blown apart. And you see that the trunk, or the base is the technical term of the tendril, kind of has wormed its way out of this opening in the ground. Surrounding the tendril are a couple of these black spore-like fungal things at its base, and 3 figures looking like farmers, 2 men and a woman, are just standing almost in a daze. And then there's, you can see the slowly being encompassed, almost like a boa constrictor style, by the vines at the base. Another figure there that is totally inert, presumably no more. But the 3 people that are standing around are just, the lights are on, but nobody's home at this point. And you would suspect that the actually, I'm not going to tell you what you would suspect, because that's kind of tied to the mystery thing. You need to look at that a little bit more. But you're able to get inside the church past the vine. Remind me what you are strong against. What chemoids you are.
Phlegm and Ichor.
Okay, sweet. So we said the vine's Ichor. So that able to do 2 points of damage getting around it. So, maybe some of your super strength and bounding we're counting as, going against it rather than just trying to get around it, and, able to smash it around or break off a piece of it or something in the midst of doing that. So, nice.
And then I'm going to call out Carlos, we need a lumberjack.
Ooh.
I like it. It's perfect.
So
and so Carlos.
Okay, it's my turn,
so
right?
You saw Winston turn to the kid, and then almost immediately pivot and make a run for the church, blasting through the vine as he went to get to the interior of the church through the rotted out part of the wall. And that's when you hear him call out to you, "Carlos, we need a lumberjack."
Okay. I'll just see little Jack Lollipop getting thrown out, killed immediately, and I'll see Winston going with the super speed stuff, and I'll say, Jesus Christ, what did I get myself into? Lumberjack incoming, and I'll just whack at the vine. I'll just whack it with my great
Nice.
axe.
I like it. So that's definitely going to be a power check, unless you're trying to do something real creative and sneaky and all that, which might be hardship. You give me a story on that, I might be able to take it, but that kind of defaults to danger for me. And definitely that lumberjack axe definitely kicks in at this point.
I will definitely just like stand in front of the vine and say, back in Venezuela, I used to protect you guys, and now here with your weird foreign stuff, I have to kill you.
I like
So
it.
I'm just gonna whack you.
Definitely a danger roll for sure.
Danger.
So give me a roll of your danger dice, add your axe, and get 6+.
Come on.
Okay, here we go. 4 plus
2, right? Nice.
2, so 6.
You didn't even have to spend any port.
Oh man, that's great. We've established that these vines, these tendrils are ichor, and you are strong against ichor, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay, so that's enough to do it in. So tell me, what does that look like? You're able to destroy the vine. What does that look like?
Ooh. Yeah, immediately as you see my fury, this dangerous situation arise, you can now notice that this Carlos guy is not as calm as he may seem when he fights, So it seems almost as if the bark that covers their skin wraps around the handle of the axe, and the flowers and vines around the axe part, the rusty axe, grow ever so stronger, and I just whack it and cut it right through.
Yeah,
That's
it just
awesome.
Just
Nice.
cut it up to pieces, just break it, and in that moment, just like the other vine, it starts to immediately start to wither and decay. And Winston, in the interior of the church, you hear this great clash outside, and tracking back from the exterior outside part of the vine going into the base, you see just the color fade, and its turns pale and dry and starts to become brittle and start to break apart. And as it does so, the black spores release from the fungal things and kind of create a bit of a cloud in the interior of the church. But that's enough to take the tendril out. Very nice. Cool. Okay, who goes next? So we've got Gerald. The church vine is out. So we have Gerald, and then we have the larger mystery piece to kind of resolve of where everybody is.
So we have Gerald and the mystery itself. I'll definitely see Gerald and try to say what are you doing with the Simba? But right now with Winston in the church, seeing what's going on with these people, I'll pass it on to Winston. But I'll definitely, after just whacking this vine out, I'll just be like, what are you doing? Is you baby?
So who are you selecting to go next? Winston has already.
Winston. Just because there's
on this round.
something going on in the church.
So the two people that have yet to go is Gerald, and then
yeah. I mean the situation. I meant the situation with Winston. So the mystery, the church.
So Winston, as you're in the inside of it, as the spores kind of spread out, and you can't help but breathe it in as they start to kind of not bleed over, but float over out of the opening where Gerald is, where Zombie Gerald is, and Zombie Gerald, can't help but breathe some of this stuff in. I'm going to want both of you to make, actually, I think kind of danger rolls, because this represents kind of your guttural reaction to things. Danger portent checks. Winston against your brains, 1 to represent kind of zombie Winston kind of getting messed up in the head. And then Winston, I'm going to let you tell me. I feel like bloodlust might make a little bit more sense, seeing as how what you just saw what happened to the kid Jack.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Your character, you tell me.
No, I agree with that because it's always kind of a bloodlust setting in another fashion. So just loss of control. Yep. So it's a danger roll, and do we add?
It's definitely a loss of control thing. So add. I think both of your portents are at 0 right now, so you are both doing super good.
Oh, okay. So
nothing to add, but 6 or below, and if you roll higher than that, then you'll add to those. But we'll cover that in a second.
I got a 4 this time.
Oh man, nice. Okay.
3.
Woo. Man, everybody's rolling golden today. Rolling high when they need to roll high, rolling low when they need to roll low. Nice. Yeah, so in a moment, you feel that kind of like ichor sandpaper feeling, taste in your mouth pass over your characters, and that sense of, bloodlust kind of rises up in a moment, kind of, but then fades away just as quickly, and you feel the brain's kind of zombie drive kind of tick up. But then you're able to kind of reestablish control over your zombie body.
I'm like, no, bad. Friend, not food.
Yeah, it was something with that. The spores being released in the area there within the church had something to do with that. And so, yeah, Gerald, you're the last one to act this turn, so take it away.
It is my turn. I'll probably set down the friend and grab the pipes because I know that somebody threw the pipes at me to pick them up. So I'm like, come on, pick up the pipes. Good boy. All right. Then I'll head closer into the church with the other 2 and look around, try to figure out what's going on. Because I'm like shouting, pay attention, and trying to, slap them around, but it just goes through them. Randomly.
Right. Yeah, so I think if you're just trying to observe kind of like the people side of things, or just trying to kind of like get around, you tell me isolation or hardship based on kind of how you read and interpret those. The definitions there are sitting on page 10 of the rules, but isolation is definitely kind of like mental awareness.
Yeah, I think isolations probably make more sense at this point. Okay. That is a 5.
Okay. Do you want to tap into either your character's portents or the strange magics kept at bay? If you can tell me how.
I'll add 1 to brains.
Okay.
It took brain power.
Fair. Fair. Yeah, you see that. In fact, as you're kind of like walking in, you see that the tendrils, it's not like it just burst forth from under the church, right? Like you see more of the tendrils snaking out from under the floorboards. I'm trying to get my architecture right because it's not a slab building, because this is an ancient old building, but on the foundational piers, I think, that everything's built on top of, and have kind of crashed out underneath that. Tendrils kind of worming their way back towards the into the woods, where the woods begin. And so as you get into the church, you see that whatever kind of came bursting up through the floorboards kind of probably tracked back out and connected with those that go back out further into the woods.
Trees.
And that's enough to kind of resolve the mystery from getting a number of hits or successes. So as the party regroups, and I'll let you kind of resolve it from an RP standpoint here in just a sec, but not only do you notice that there's one route of or possible vector of kind of where the people went. Of okay, well, these tendrils clearly go back into the woods in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
That when you eventually return to the roadhouse and look around there, that the back door, like through the kitchen of the roadhouse, is wide open and clearly leads out, and you don't have to go too far to get to the creek that butts up against the back of the roadhouse's property and see this big freaking like pig waller almost of kind of where people have there's clearly been a lot of traffic of somebody's going down off the side of the creek bank, crossing over the creek, and on the other side of the creek kind of that the big messy trail kind of picks up and follows the creek up, also back up into the woods.
Gotcha.
And so I will let us kind of resolve this from an RP standpoint, but that will be the next kind of scene setup, is going to be choosing, knowing that people, something is going on back in the woods. There's either the route of where it looked like the people went along the creek way up into the woods, or it's following the path of the tendril growth into the woods. Is another way, but those look to be your two clear options of where things, where the answers may lie. But you have the matter of people still standing around in the church. You have the matter of the boy, and then whatever else you want to look at around in the roadhouse, and Talthos is kind of laying there, gored and bleeding out and having a real bad go of it. Did Gerald put Talthos on the ground before he went into the church?
Yeah, he set him down and grabbed the pipes and walked in there and then looked around.
Oh, but you grabbed his pipes?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, my pipes. At least the pipes are calling.
I think in that moment, Carlos, who is still outside, will definitely, well, first of all, I'll grab the kid. I'll just carry him in my arm, the corpse, and I'll talk to this guy. Is it
Talthos.
Talthos. Okay. So I'll talk to Talthos. Just get up. I think there's questions to be answered. Get in. And I'll try to guide him into the church with the others.
And he kind of leans on your shoulders and trying to hold in, because he's been freaking impaled, like, through the.
He ain't okay.
Yeah, he's in a, even as a magical kind of mythological creature, like he's in a bad way. And he almost immediately kind of like collapses on the ground, because the interior of this church, like all the everything's been moved out over the years. It's a shell of a building at this point, but kind of tumbles down to the ground, and motions to zombie Gerald, and Talthos seems completely unfazed by the fact that there's a zombie and a weird woody lumberjack guy and a fey vampire fellow, like, because he's also weird and part of the Pines and Dimes kind of community of monsters. I'm glad you found the pipes. Play their song again. And he's struggling to get words out at this point, but
he said to play their song again.
Yeah, play its song again. Or give them to me. Yeah, and so he takes it down, and he's able to play just faintly, right? Like, there's not a lot of lung capacity coming out of this dude at this point. But as he plays, you see the three farmers, the two men and the woman, who were standing kind of around this central opening of where the tendril had burst out. And there was, the person who wasn't moving earlier, who was getting constricted and consumed, like that's a corpse.
They're gone.
But they, start to moan and shake their heads, and one of them keels over and vomits this awful looking black sticky substance out. And I said, what has happened? And they slowly start to regain their consciousness, right, as Kalthos plays his lilting, strange music on his pipes. Kalthos says the vines, the spores, I don't know what it is, but it got to the people and destroyed their mind before I could, took my pipes from me before I could set them free. And Narcia, who some of you would know would be the other faun or satyr, Kalthos says, and she just went with them willingly. I don't understand it, and I've been here suffering for the past several days. Continues to cough and.
Well, the danger is where the people go. So I think what we have to do is follow the people and find the people and free the rest of them if they're under control by something here.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll put the little kid down. I'll take some flowers off my bag and put it in the eyes, cover them up. And I'll check on the people that are vomiting because maybe they have some idea of what's going on. Why is it willing?
Yeah, they explain that people from the community area had gathered exactly as planned for this harvest celebration, the beginning of the lumbering season, and the last thing that they remember is that these vines broke through the windows of the roadhouse and came through the doors, and this strange haze or smoke or mist just kind of darkened the room. And then the last thing that they could think of is just some needed to march into the wood to present themselves to the elder tree, and some would remain and await those who would come. And they had no control. It was like they were in a dream, sleepwalking. And so and one of the farmers who gets kind of more, as they all kind of get more back to their old selves, looks down and recoils in horror at the figure that has been partially consumed by this, plant thing, and realizes that that's his brother. And so looks to the three of you and says, you've got to help. This isn't natural, whatever this is. And I'm not going to force a social perception roll with it in this circumstance because we're kind of wrapping up this. But yeah, it's definitely like he's weirded out, but he's desperate. And so I think that sense of desperation overrides his concern of who he's interacting with at this point.
Gerald carefully extends his hand and goes, "Friend."
You probably don't get a handshake back, but
No.
Yeah.
I'll definitely whistle, and I don't know how to whistle, so from my dog, Pato, and you'll see that I say, I just say, "It is hunting time, boys," and you'll see from the jacket just 1, 2, 3, 4 puppies that turn into mucuchillas, and they are now with me. They're ready to hunt.
Cool. So the next scene is going to be a bit of a montage in lieu of some of the larger kind of travel bit that we have built in, because we're sitting at kind of the 2-hour markish at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would like us to do is we're going to have 3 rounds of rolls. And I would like you all to decide which route you take into the wood at this point. You have the path following the tendrils into the woods, but then also you have the path that looks like the muddied tracks and footprints of where people left the roadhouse and went en masse down by the creek and into the woods that way.
Which way is towards the elder tree they were talking about?
No idea what the
No idea.
Yep.
None of the people do. Ooh. Neither do does the satyr.
Yeah, the well, give me an isolation roll. That's kind of representing the socializing bit, and I'll let whoever wants to give me an isolation roll. If anybody has relevant powers, that would make sense in that context. I don't think we have.
I don't think we have it.
I think this is a wisdom thing.
I mean,
socialization.
Would your secret lair? Let me kind of give you a setup here.
Oh,
With your secret lair, would you have? I mean, because you have a fae and vampire kind of thing, and this is weird plant stuff. Like,
that's true.
Would your secret lair have some sort of reading that you might be able to kind of like see if you recall anything from?
There's let's see. I think maybe tapping into the Fae glamour a little bit to see if I can get a sense of something that would maybe make feel as of the tree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like the feeling with like the more.
Sure.
It's got if it's got to be some sort of magical energy of some sort or an ichor I could draw upon or find.
Definitely. Yeah. Give me
okay,
give me a roll.
Isolation is 5 + 2 for 7.
Nice. Yeah. So as you kind of tap into that fae thing, like the sense of ichor from the tendrils, like it doesn't light up because we've established how it physically manifests, but like as you kind of like pay attention to it, the path that is tied to, you see the tendrils kind of snaking back off into the trees and underbrush, is still very strongly attuned to ichor. The path out behind the roadhouse by the creek, like, has that black bile sense that was very strong in the roadhouse, but not nearly to the degree of these tendrils being just heavily attuned to it.
I think the bigger problem is the tree or these vines, so I think we should follow them and try and take care of that. And maybe once we do, if the people are being controlled, much like these ones were, they'll be free to make their way back.
Okay. Cool.
Trees.
Yeah.
Okay, so this next scene is going to be kind of montagey. And it helps if I can spell the word scene correctly. So for each set of rolls, we will basically have the local environment of, what am I doing? I just need to go to a simpler thing. The local environment will change to reflect as you get further into the woods. So think of it in some ways kind of like a point crawl or a hex crawl if you've done that, right? Like, think of it in that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're just kind of this as an extended scene calling it into the wood. And there's a larger ongoing portent check of 6 that is available that represents, the oddities of the wood as you start to kind of move further into it. So as the group moves in following the path of the trail of tendrils, you notice that these strange growths lead back further into the woods, where they sometimes disappear and burrow into the ground, and they'll pop back out some distant later. It's hard to track and notice where they appear and where they go in the deep shadows of the woods. But you'll find that not only are they kind of leading you along a ways deeper into the woods, but then there are still those black fungal growths that also appear every so often, shedding off the black spores into a mist. And so the roles I'm going to want here is trying to find your way forward. How we're going to represent that is by making portent checks, either against the maddening woods, which will kind of represents everybody's ability to remain not influenced by the strange psychotropic properties of this black spore fungal stuff. But then also you can absolutely invoke your own portents as we go along. Danger is going to represent kind of trying to charge into stuff and just plow through, heedless of problems. And even if you get kind of tore up along the way, if you're going to, try and risk your background of hardship, do you have the equipment to kind of make it into the woods? Have you been in these circumstances before? Do you know how to navigate wilderness settings, or just kind of bring creativity and thoughtfulness into kind of how you're navigating this section of the woods? And isolation checks don't really apply at this point. So you all can tell me.
Okay.
And we're just going to make a single round of rolls, and then we'll kind of set up kind of how far you get into the woods and what you see next. And so, Don, we'll start with Gerald, because I frankly just think it's probably the funniest to the ghost and the zombie navigate this. That's my only reason.
So, Ghost Gerald is like, all right, we need to do this carefully. And Gerald's like, march, and just like starts like that same straightforward, careless, like stumbling over rocks and tripping through and it's just following a beeline after where the tendrils had gone, and that's all it's doing.
Sure.
So yeah, it's gonna be a danger roll.
I
don't think he's
Okay, and so what portent is kind of being risked at this point? Is it the surviving the maddening wood? Is it the deteriorating body? Is it brain?
I'd probably say the body at this point.
Okay. So give me a danger roll, 6 or low.
And do I add anything to that? Let's see.
So if you're risking your deteriorating body, that's at 0 right now. So no, just give me a straight die roll.
It'll be a 6.
Man, everybody's crushing these rolls tonight. I love it. Yeah. So fortunately, things aren't too rough or dangerous at this point. And even as Zombie Gerald blunders blindly through the woods, Ghost Gerald is able to kind of keep him on a vague path, trying to track where the tendrils are leading.
Yep. It's like, no, left, right.
And so we'll just go the group. There's no scene portents or anything else like that we're worrying about at this point.
Duck,
so
quack.
Who feels like they've got an idea of what their character would do to navigate through the trail of the tendrils at this point?
So, Winston,
I have one. I think. Okay. So definitely, first of all, I'm gonna be following mainly my mucuchillas. My dogs are gonna be keeping track of those tendrils. sniffing them out, sniffing any sort of magic little thingies that they find within the tendrils. And I have experience in the woods. I come from the woods, especially mountain woods in this case. This is definitely different
Mhm.
foliage and vegetation. Maybe not so much topography, but definitely different vegetation.
Gotcha.
So I'm confident because it is nature, but I'm still just
Sure.
maybe a bit
Okay, so it
too
sounds like you'd
confident.
probably be putting your wilting plant body at risk in all this. Yeah, because we're not too
Mhm.
worried about the
Yep.
powers checks. Like this is not a, I'm not hiding information from you. Really, it's how well did you manage
Yeah.
navigating all this? So, okay, wilting plant body. So is this a hardship or a danger roll or a portent check?
Hmm.
So susceptible danger is like you're just susceptible to being foolhardy and just charging ahead and not being thoughtful and careful about how you're working through the woods.
Okay.
Hardship is, you feel out of your depth and you're unable to kind of like creatively or thoughtfully navigate all this and are getting kind of confused.
Okay. I think it'll be more. I am definitely going confidently in and just like stepping over stuff, going over bushes with my
Yeah.
stature. So it will probably
So
be
these
either a
will
portent check
all
or a
be
danger
portent
roll.
checks. So
Maybe
give
a
me a
portent check.
danger portent check. You don't have anything on your plant body right
Okay.
now, so that's at 0 because everybody's rolling amazing tonight. So yeah, give me a +0, so just your dice roll 6 or below.
Okay, here we go.
Nice.
6.
Yeah, not a problem at all. All right, Winston.
Winston originally became something special by wandering around in the woods, so it's something that they're semi-familiar with, and they're thinking about it more than just charging headfirst into it. And since we've been tapping into the Fey magics a little bit, we're gonna risk the go with the Fey Chaos Portent.
I like it.
Oh, and that's a 7.
Oh, yeah. So as you get deeper into the woods, clearly there are strange influences about in the midst of this. So yeah, take that up by 1. So nice. So as the group of you follow the tendrils for a while, you stop and pause for a moment as Winston gets this wild look in his eye momentarily. And you see, and you're caught off guard in that moment by hearing a gunshot ring off in the far distance, away from where the tendril growth is. And so you're trying to kind of figure out where that noise came from, but at the same time realizing as you pause that Carlos specifically, your nature essence is able to realize that, like, oh, look, everybody off in this other direction, slightly in a different angle. These tendrils grow incredibly thick, and clearly there's heavy growth unnaturally of these strange things as they, every so often shake and give off this black spore stuff. So you've got 2 directions now at this point where you could go as you're making your way through the woods, either in the direction of where that gunshot rang out from, or further towards following the trail of the tendrils to where they grow thick and almost maze-like.
So there was the tendrils that are going way too thick, and the other option was
trying to go and figure out where the sound of the gunshot came from.
Wow, gunshot or tendrils?
Which way is Gerald still stumbling? Because I feel like Gerald's kind of, in a way, leading the charge.
Charge.
Yeah, Gerald for the win.
You tell us, Don.
That's a great question.
So-
He's probably following the path where the tendrils had came from
Okay.
as best he can.
One track mind.
Yep. And Ghost Gerald's just doing his best to try to steer the avalanche. I mean, putting the rails in front of that train is hard.
Yeah, that's fair.
Hey. In my case, I think I'll definitely. My essence tell me to follow the tendrils, and my logic says, you get to the monsters that are consuming the people, and you'll get to save the ones that are the closest. But a gunshot is imminent. It's new. So I think I'll just send two of my mukuchies, say, Pato Cotufa, go with the zombie guy, go with
So
Gerald.
in this case,
Help him
Pete, I'm
out.
going to say just from a purely meta gameplay standpoint, let's not split the party in this context. So just be able to all three
Better.
of you by
Better.
vote or consensus or whatever, just choose one or the other.
Okay, so what does the monster party think? I think the gunshot is interesting because maybe there's someone trying to protect themselves. Maybe the tendrils lead to the bigger issue, which is the big scary vines consuming people and making them throw up black stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Is like the gunshot could be someone defending, could be who knows what, but the faster we take care of the greater problem, gives us a chance to help the most people.
Charge.
Just like, Winston and Carlos are sitting there discussing for a second, and Gerald's just going. We're like, "Oh, Gerald!" going after Gerald. I think.
I like it. So as the party
We're going for
moves
the tendrils.
deeper into
Gerald.
the woods, you notice that the songs of birds and the presence of wildlife start to cease entirely, and the wood grows unnaturally dark and cast in shadows the deeper you go, and these tendrils start to grow briar thorns, and it's difficult to move through. So I'm going to want everybody to make danger portent checks, basically all against surviving the maddening wood. Because as you move through, it's going to be: are you scratching? Are you being? And as you cut yourself, as you inhale the black spores, it's difficult to navigate. So, we'll go one in a row because this number might tick up as we go along. So Peach, it sounded like you just rolled something.
I did.
Yeah, I didn't wait. I don't know if I should re-roll it. I got a 5.
Okay, so which is appropriate. I think that our nature spirit is able to not be super affected by this stuff. So you're able to get further through. Jeff?
Okay, cool.
I rolled a 10.
Yeah! Nice. Yeah, and so as you start to make your way through, whether you're accidentally inhaling some of the black spores, whether it's the sap from the briar thorns that you're cutting yourself on, trying to worm your way through this thick tendril maze and overgrowth, you feel not right, that there's something in the back of your mind starting to get cloudy and hazy. And yeah.
I got a 3.
Sweet. Zombie not concerned about psychotropic briar. And so through some distance and some, moderate difficulty, at least through one of the three of you, you emerge as the briars start to open up. and you start to emerge into the heart of the wood, where there is a glade and an opening, and we're having kind of two different focal points here. A glade and an opening on one side, surrounded by trees, and in the center are two moving trees, not walking, but their branches are moving in ways that are clearly not natural. And one of these has a great terrifying face that has emerged from the knots in the bark.
Jeez.
And in it, it has the mangled remains of a body in one of its great claw-like branches. The other branch, or the other tree, is similarly writhing and moving around, and from a great distance you can kind of tell that there is some sort of form, some person, some body in the tree, almost like the tree is growing over them. And surrounding these trees in the middle of this glade are a series of swaying, chanting this discordant, strange song of figures, of human figures that surround the glade. And every so often, one of those figures will march over to a corner of the glade where there is a great giant tree stump that has been fell and cut long ago, in a great pit surrounded by a fairy ring of great mushrooms, of the black spore mushrooms. And one of these figures will just walk without making a show of it, almost mindlessly, just walk and fall senselessly into this pit where they are no longer seen. And in that moment, the figure in the tree shakes and screams out and calls out in a mix of pain but also exultation. And the ritual continues. And so you have emerged into the heart of the wood, where now the party faces what you believe to be the elder tree. And the figure of, I lost my names in my NPC list. The figure of what you believe to be Narcera being entombed into another tree. Whether that's by her own volition or not, no one knows. But we have a couple of things going on here as we move into the tail end of the adventure. The two focal points, or the two zones we have the glade, which is the area with the trees, and then we have the pit. And the pit is guarded over a massive, hulking, zombie-like figure. And we have a couple of portents being represented here in the midst of this. So let me just copy and paste some stuff from my scratch pad, and I will jot that down. So we have an overarching portent. If I can spell correctly. We have an overarching portent of Narcera transformed, and that's at 8 total. The Kymos surrounding this entire scene is that of Iker. We also have Talthos's pipes that I'm assuming we all brought, which is aligned to Rot. We have one of the dangers is Song of the Mindless Farmers. And then we have a couple of other dangers that I'll just jot out here just so we have them all for reference. the elder tree. And then the other danger is what we are calling the pit guardian, which is this hulking zombie figure that stands over it. And so the challenge for the party is going to be stopping whatever ritual we have here before the figure in the tree, Narcera, the other satyr, whatever happens, the ritual is complete. And you also have to worry about these farmers, throwing themselves into this great pit as part of that. Let's see here. Let me grab our little icons here. And so you all are able to emerge on the edge of the glade itself without being noticed. But I won't put you all into the scene just yet. You all tell me where and how we want to start with that.
Let's see. Winston's gonna.
I think I'll definitely go ahead, Winston.
Like,
I want to
was
hear
gonna
what
say,
you'll do.
Winston's thinking, okay, we got Carlos with the big axe here, and we got a tree going on, so that's gonna be something Carlos can do well with. But Winston's also gonna think back with the pipes, how he was told to play the song again. Wasn't sure what was being talked about, but listened to the song we played, and that song kind of woke the other farmers there up. So Winston's going to try and recreate that song again to see if it'll wake up the farmers and give them, stop them from being mindless anymore.
Okay. Cool. So we have you going first then, because you're the first one articulating a game plan. And so for the purpose of this, even though I don't have icons for them, we will say that all the farmers who are singing are basically represented in both focal points or both the zones. And it's a single glade, so we'll say that the panpipe can reach them both. Okay. So Winston, you tell me where narratively are you more placed? Are you more in the open glade with the two great trees, or are you more closer to the pit with the zombie guardian?
Are there any farmers heading towards the pit right now?
Not right now. As you all approached, you saw one of them do their death march into the pit, but now the song continues.
Probably a little bit closer to the open glade area then.
Great.
No, actually, yeah, the pit. Closer to the pit, and I'll just kind of like point at the pit guardian, like go, Gerald, friend.
Okay, so is that your action to point at Gerald, or do you want to make a power check sort of action tied to all this?
Some sort of power check to try and play the song.
Okay. Sorry, I should have said that the song of the farmers is Black Vial. So that same sense of like suffering and pain that you picked up on at the roadhouse is definitely emanating from them in all this.
Okay.
Okay, so is it the pipes? Is that the idea?
Yeah. So is that going to be a?
I think that's probably a hardship roll in this.
Okay.
It's not super danger, right? Like you're not reacting, trying to play the pipes like in an oh shit moment necessarily, and it's not really isolation. So definitely like quick thinking, creativity sort of stuff. So
there is yeah.
Well, the pipe for +3.
That's a good point. Okay, so that's a 4 then. +3.
Okay. I mean,
so I only have to
use any of their packs to basically reset one of their portents. So I mean,
Yeah, I will.
Everyone's doing super well. at this point, so I wouldn't be afraid
I'll
of
tap
tapping.
into my Fey Chaos then to add 2 more because I need to get a 6, right?
Heck
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, need a 6.
Yep. I'll tap into the Fey Chaos to get the other 2 to succeed.
Okay. So what does that look like when you tap into the fake chaos?
The Winston's starting to play the pipes and kind of faltering, trying to remember the song, and so they focus really hard and trying to like be in tune with the pipes and play the song, and so like just the energy around them, their image just kind of starts shimmering a little bit, and they look like they're like slightly kind of jumping like maybe a few inches of movement here and there, and their skin is just changing through colors as that Fey magic is just kind of running unchecked through them.
Nice. Yeah, nice. Yeah, and in that moment, their song pauses in very odd, like if it was a record, it'd be like a needle scratching, right? Like it all stops.
I wonder how we all got here.
Welcome to Gerald Bueller's day off. But then the elder tree starts to move its great claw-like branch hands, almost like he's conducting a chorus, and they begin to sing once more. But you see some of them kind of have moments of lucidity in that. Nice. Okay, so Winston, that was your turn. We've got both of the other PCs. We've got the Elder Tree, the Pit Guardian, and then just the effect of the song itself.
Gerald!
So Ghost Gerald's like, all right, Gerald, we're going to play a game. We're going to do Ring Around the Rosie. We need you to throw a rock at the Guardian and get him to chase you. Round the circle, Gerald. You can do this. Basically, he's going to try to draw off the Guardian and see if he can get the Guardian to fall into the hole.
Ooh, okay.
So he's going to like chuck a rock and be like, hey, play.
Play. That's definitely give me a hardship roll on that. That's
all right.
Definitely like a quick thinking, resourcefulness sort of thing for sure. Is this I mean, you do have that moment of brief lucidity.
Yeah, I guess I could use that. I haven't used that in a while.
Yeah.
Get it.
Ghost Gerald's in there is like starting to try to make the almost kind of like Jaegering this poor zombie, trying to force it to move a little faster. Even with that +2, though, it's only a 4.
Ooh, okay.
So because it's pushing him past, I'll spend 2 of the deteriorating body as well.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah, I like it.
You can kind of hear the bones and muscles starting to tear and break a little bit.
Nice. So since this is Iker versus Iker, that kind of cancels each other out. It's not strong or weak against it. But definitely, you're able to kind of crack it right in the melon to get its attention for sure. It doesn't topple right into the pit, but it definitely, it notices you are here to the exclusion of all others and starts to chase you down at this point. Nice.
Play. Meanwhile, Ghost Gerald's like, oh crap.
That worked too well. Nice.
Right.
Okay, nice turn. Who would you say goes next?
I'd definitely say Carlos is up.
Okay. You guys are
Okay, so I'll definitely send my dogs back. They're gonna be kind of scared because I am terrified to my pants. And Is there more than one tree? Is it just
So
like
for the
the elder
purposes
tree,
of
or
this combat or this scene, there is the elder tree here on the left, who is the primary threat, you would suspect. And then the second tree really represents Narcera, the other satyr who's in the process of being consumed by another tree, but isn't a target in so much as just represents a portent that might go bad in time.
okay, okay. And just question before I act. If I go attack the tree that's consuming this, I forgot the name, the other satyr, does that help? Would that do anything mechanically, or should I
You
just
don't
go
think
full
your
on if I'm
your
gonna attack?
ability to hit the tree is going to make a difference while the mindless farmer's
Okay,
song continues, or while the elder tree is still able to manipulate them.
okay. So, mm, definitely seeing this scene, this creepy ass scene, and Gerald just running for it while the big zombie like guard. This is a Gerald versus Gerald moment. And the chanting, the fairies, I'll just say, this is way above my pay grade. And you'll see that I just put my hands together, I clasp them, and I'll just say, Silbo nuestro que estás en los cielos, santificado sea tu nombre, venga a nosotros tu reino. And I'll cast around all of these people. You'll see that the sky goes almost into a dark mist ambience.
Ooh,
And I will
nice.
call on the whistler.
Nice.
From me, a little chaure, which is an owl, a Venezuelan owl, will come out of my hood of the jacket with a little lily pad that is very common in where the Silbon is from, and it will just go fly away to try and call for him for his help in defeating the elder tree.
I like it. I like it. So yeah. So the effect of the whistler, once the whistler arrives, how do we want to treat that? Does is a whistler be a combatant fighting
Okay.
the tree, or is it because it effectively functions just as a +3 power? So tell me what you want the whistler to do, and we'll make a roll on that, right?
Yes. I imagine it as two
Okay.
possible things, you know? On the one end, the wizard is a good friend of Carlos. So on the one end, it would be like an extra combatant, which would be like kind of like Carlos
Okay.
is fighting with him, like they're brothers in arms. And instead of using the bonus of the axe to
Yep.
attack, I'm
Exactly.
using the bonus of the whistler, and they're just both of them attacking. And in the other situation, I see it more as Super Smash Brothers when Zelda like calls on the armor, the side B attack, the armor just appears and whoosh, super attack,
Cool.
super strong, something like that. Because the wizard is pretty
I like it.
boogeyman-like.
So who are you going after with the help of the whistler, and where are you placing your character around which zone or which focal point, the glade or the pit?
As I start calling for the whistler, I'll very slowly walk towards the tree. And yeah, I'll go towards that enemy and see if
Nice.
it's successful.
So with the elder tree, to be able to attack it, you're going to have to get past its great swiping claws of branches that are its arms, and so that is going to take
Okay.
going to take one of two forms, either similar to when Gerald tried to get onto the church tendril and then snap Talthos off and free Talthos. Took two power checks. It's going to be that, or because your portent is a withering plant body, would also represent getting into that mix to the danger that you put your body into to be able to get at it. For right now, let's start with two power checks. So one is going to be a danger check to represent your ability to get in and attack with the Whistler.
Okay.
Still using that +3 is fine. And then let's represent also then the Whistler making its attack as well, but you're directing it and trying to get it to move in the right way. And that will be the isolation check. And so we need them both to be successful to be able to do damage to attack this thing.
Okay. So first with the Whistler, D8 +3.
Yep.
What's that first?
Carlos getting past the big
danger.
claws to make sure he's not just batted away.
Okay,
Nice.
so it's 7
Nice.
+3.
Very
10.
good roll. I like it.
Good one.
Nice.
All right. So you're able to dodge and weave and get underneath.
And I guess because the next one is with the Whistler. Okay, so I get underneath there. And then because the next one is with the attack of the Whistler, can I say how it gets invoked? So you'll see that the mist that covers everything in the midday looks almost getting to almost like if it's a false night, a very rainy, dark day above us. Suddenly a beam of mist starts coming down, and you'll see this very large, a bit smaller than me, but still very long figure that is way much more. It's skin, but almost mummified skin. Long, drapey arms with a huge machete and a very classical farmer suit, but in this case, Llano suit with the straw hat and everything, and a bag to their shoulder. That if you hear and look within the tear marks of the bag, it is filled with bones. And it just, at the beginning, you only see the mist and you will all hear the whistling from very, very close, like if it's right next to your ear. And then the more it goes far away, the more the Whistler comes into the scene besides me.
Okay.
So that's where it appears, and let's see if it manages to do anything. Is it 1d10
still
plus
the
nothing, or
+3?
still the +3?
Nice.
Oh, let's try. 7 plus
Nice.
3 again, so 10.
Okay, and so this is against Iker, and let's double check what Flem is strong against, because, oh yeah, Flem is strong against Iker, and so you get 2 points of effect or damage there instead of 1 because you're strong, so that is cool.
Ooh.
Yeah, so what does that look like when the Whistler attacks?
So it comes by almost teleporting, and we'll say hi to each other, and I'll just point with my axe towards the tree. Es el mío. Y directly we just go side to side, like almost like a, what do you call it? Pinza.
Nice. Yeah.
Like a claw strategy. So just, and we attack side to side. Choom, choom.
That's awesome.
2 axe.
And as your attacks chip away at its bark and its woody skin, it reacts, throwing its great branch-like arms up, and the whole body and the trunk of the tree pulls back. But it is the voice of the mindless farmers that cry out in unison shrieks of pain and then return to their song. Very nice.
So
cool. That's a great turn. Who goes next?
Oh boy.
I think definitely it would be either we would go back to the NPC that's chasing Gerald, or the tree, because it was
I
just
think either of those makes sense. You tell me.
So which one would you get?
You get to make that choice.
Ooh. Well, we saw a lot with the Whistler. That was like a kind of a long description. So let's head back to Dawn. Let's see what Gerald does.
Okay.
The guard.
All right. So as the guard starts to chase you both down, not only is it trying to catch up with zombie Gerald, but in the kind of yakety sax moment here, really pulling all the high drama out of this now, because now I just hear yakety sax playing in my mind. But
Exactly.
But Winston, you're right in the midst of all this, right? So I'm going to want both of you to make portent checks to represent reacting, trying to get out of the pit guardian's way. Gerald, that's particularly the zombie, trying to stay out in front of this chase. But then Winston not accidentally getting pulled into this by being pummeled by either Gerald the zombie or the pit guardian, or accidentally tripping and falling in the midst of this and suffering the fate of the pit. So definitely danger. I think portent checks for Gerald. Winston, depending on how you want to frame this, I could see danger, but then I could also see kind of like the quick thinking nature of hardship come up into play, depending on, like I said, how you want to frame it and what portents you want to use. And you can use your character's portents. I'm not sure how the transformation of Narcia would play out with a zombie chase, but if you tell me, give me a story, I'd be willing to take that as well if you want to use that.
I think mine's all going to be on my deteriorating body at this point.
I'm gonna go with hardship because I'm gonna play it smarter, not harder. I can move faster than this thing, so I just need to make sure I'm out of the way and not putting myself too close to. Like finding a spot where it's difficult for it to follow me, but I can still get away from it.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So Don, let's start with Gerald's portent check.
I rolled an 8.
Ooh, nice. And since you're both Icar, there's no additional bad side effects, but your deteriorating body portent goes up by 1. So what is that? Yep. You rolled 8 anyway. So what does that look like?
It looks like Gerald's trying to run and keep running, but the strain from going through the woods and everything else, like his legs are starting to just slowly break apart.
Ooh. Hard times to be a zombie body. That's rough.
Yep.
Jeff, what do we get for Winston here?
A 1 again.
Man, nice. Crushing it. And what were you rolling against? The chaos?
Yeah, we're still going with the chaos, so I guess it would be a 4 technically.
Nice, but still, 6 or under is what we're looking for. Nice, cool. Okay, so that was the turn, and in the midst of all this, I think we will. Let's see here. It's all me at this point, so it's all the GM characters. So in the midst of this, we'll circle back to the tree. The tree bellows out after it got cut up by the whistler and the axe. The mindless figures of the farmers, screamed out in response, giving voice to the tree. And the tree looks down at this other woody figure, as well as the strange thin figure of the whistler, and prepares to get rid of this pest that has intruded on whatever strange ancient ritual is happening here. And so, Peach, I'm going to want a let's see here. I'm going to want a danger roll of a portent check against either.
Okay.
Well, not against either thing. I'm going to want a portent check against your wilting, deteriorating plant-like body as it tries to grasp you
Yes.
in its claws.
So that's just a D8. I think I still have
Yeah, you've been
0
rolling great.
on my portent. Okay. Ooh, 7. I go
Yeah,
hit.
and you get backhanded by this heavy branch, kind of similar to the punishment that poor young Jack took at the crossroads. But you're a much hardier figure. So take your portent up by 1, please.
Okay. Okay. I will take note of that. Here.
And then while all this chaos is breaking loose at the pit and then at the elder tree, the mindless farmers continue their discordant song once more. And it's strange notes combined with the black spores and sap you all have come into contact with while navigating the briar maze, the tendril maze, feel shaking at your mind, at the periphery of your mind. So I'm going to want everybody, all 3 of you, to make an isolation check. I think it's probably brains for Gerald, Fey Chaos for Winston. And I think Carlos, this is one of the examples of the rules because they're super lightweight. You have to kind of narratively adapt how certain portents come into play. So I would also allow all 3 of you, and Carlos, this might be more relevant for Carlos, for you, Peach, is that also we can say that their song continues to feed into Narcera's transformation as well. So depending on how you want to frame your role, it could be your character reacting to the strange discordant music, or it could be just the effect that they're having on Narcera in the tree. And so, Don, we'll start with you because you're at the top of my screen list of pictures on the side. And so give me an isolation roll and tell me which portent you are testing here.
Oh, brains, for sure. That is 4 + 1, 5.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's hard to make a zombie go crazy, I think. All right.
It's that single track mind.
Yeah. Patty Cake has song now. All right, Jeff. What does that look like for Winston?
Tapping into the resisting the fake chaos still because I'm trying to get make sure I stay in front of the pit guardian if it's until Gerald and I split off and it chooses one, but also trying to counteract their song with the pipes.
Okay.
And so having to focus on that any control of the Fey magic is starting to kind of go away.
Okay, so give me an isolation check. Add the current score of that Fey Chaos, which, if that's up to date, is sitting at 3.
3 + 3 is 6.
Oh, man. Everybody's going great tonight. I love it. I love it. Yeah, so that's what you need, 6 or lower. And so you feel it like hits you real hard for a moment, but you're able to keep that all under wraps. And so, Peach, how do you want to frame that for Carlos? I think it's probably the Narcia transformation magic, unless you want to tell me a story, another song.
Yeah, I'll just lap by this tree, being set back probably more than a few steps, maybe falling if you hit me hard enough. And I'll be like kind of knocked out, the ears ringing, so and the satyr is being consumed by the song that relishes in the screams of pain. So that's a D10 for isolation.
Nice. Yeah.
4
+ 0 because the transformation's at 0. Woo. Very nice. Yeah, everybody is rolling great that round. Nice. So that was the last thing in the turn order, so everybody goes back to green. Oh, that's not the button I wanted to push. Oh, come on now. And in the midst of that, I think we will keep the focus on Carlos, who is there in the midst of the fight with the tree, having watched Narcia's tree start to shake a little bit, but not watching her transform or be consumed anymore into the tree as a result of the song. And so we will say you start out the turns this round, Peach.
Okay. So because I'm in the middle of all of this, I think my battle will just continue. As it slaps me, I'll try to grab onto the branch and just whack at it with the axe.
Definitely a danger check. I like it.
Okay, so that's a plus my axis plus 2, I think. Yes. Ooh. 7 plus 2. Why am I rolling so many 7s? 7 plus
you
2.
got it just right on the dice. And again, you're strong against Icar, so that's another 2 points of damage. And when your axe comes down this time, you're able to break off this huge chunk of the bark of the elder tree. And there at the heart of the tree, underneath this outer layer of bark, you uncover this desiccated, dried out husk of a human there within the tree. And it's not blood that comes bursting or gushing out, but it is sap that has been darkened black as night that comes pouring out from around the edges of where you've cut open this tree, as well as from this figure's mouth comes drooling, pouring out. And once more, the screams of the mindless farmers all around you call out in shrieking pain. And in this moment, the song fully stops for several seconds before the figure slowly begins singing again.
Oh my god. And I'm just gonna say, is that what's gonna happen to me when I'm old? Damn. And I'm gonna pass it over to this is a hard one.
Everybody.
So available we have
the song, the tree, the pit guardian.
Yeah.
Both the
other song, Winston and Gerald, the pit guardian. I'm gonna pass it over to the song because we haven't seen that much yet.
Yeah. So as the song continues again, this time more stridently than before, it echoes once more in everybody's mind. Just bringing great pain. And somehow I turned off people's screens in our screen share program, so I apologize about the pause in my confused face. But in that moment, once more, their song reaches your ears and pierces your mind. And so similarly to last round, I'm going to want the same round of isolation portent checks, either against the transformation in Narcera or against brains for Gerald, for the Fey magic, for Winston. You two can also choose the transformation portent or your character's ones that are relevant. And Carlos's probably the transformation, but if you want to say the strident nature, the music starts to shake loose the wilting plant body, then I'm fine with that as well, if that's the story you want to tell in this moment. So
okay, so Peach, body. Digo, I mean, for the other thing. Yeah, I'll start with the Saturn transforming. I don't know why.
Okay, so we're going to go with the transformation. Body. Okay, so give me an isolation roll as you try to keep your wits about you as you watch whatever happens to the transforming tree.
I got a 6.
Nice, yeah. And because that transformation is still sitting at 0, you succeed again. Very nice.
Good.
Okay,
Good.
Don, want to give me an isolation portents check? Are you rolling against brains or against
brains.
The tree? Brains, okay.
That, with my brains, is a 7.
Oh,
Whoa.
yeah. So what does that look like? The song of these, poor mindless farmers. How does that impact the brain's impulse of Zombie Gerald?
Instead of going in a complete circle, the song and the discordance of it with the mixture of pain and everything, Spirit Gerald kind of can't quite control the zombie as well as he'd like, and he starts to veer closer to Winston.
Oh, I like it. Cool. So take that brain score up by 1.
Yep.
Very perilous for certain. Okay, Jeff, what does that look like for Winston?
You were calling for a hardship roll, right?
So this would be an isolation portent check, either against your chaos or against the transformation of Narcera.
Well, that's good then, because I had rolled hardship originally and
Didn't go so well.
got an 8. So this is going to be against the.
Uh-oh.
Fair. Okay.
Oh.
I
And
think we just
metagaming
lost
wise,
Jeff.
like wise too, because that thing is still just sitting at 0. So also nice.
Oh no, Winston just evaporated.
Nice.
Oh,
Cool.
Jeff's back now.
Yeah. So you hear that tree even from across the glade, being in a different kind of zone or focal point in the scene, but like you can see that her tree shakes and moves. All 3 of you notice that, but it doesn't appear to overtake her or transform her any more than the kind of like half shape that she's in now. Nice. Yeah. So I think at this point I'm going to give it to myself and say the Pit Guardian, seeing Gerald kind of take a momentary pause and pivot, is still coming right for Gerald. So I'm going to want another danger portents check, this time against your deteriorating body.
This is getting scary. Oof.
Jesus.
You're at 3.
That's a 9.
Ooh. Okay, yeah. So that definitely takes it up 1 to 4 out of 6 now.
Yep.
So what does that look like? Does the Pit Guardian zombie kind of catch up and get a piece of Zombie Gerald, or does Zombie Gerald just barely get out of the way?
Yeah, I think it's more along the lines of like, as Gerald pivots and moves towards Winston, and kind of this freight train from behind catches it, and they can see like part of his rib cage get caved in on the side when he gets shoved over a little bit.
Ooh. It's got to be hard to watch as Spirit Gerald.
Yeah, it's like this isn't going well.
Phantom pains.
Phantom pains.
Yep.
Real. Well, I mean, and I think that's a really good segue. Then, Gerald, I think I will say you go next.
All right. Catching that, Gerald's going to spin around, I think, and try to grab onto the Pit Guardian and just twin dive into the pit at this point.
Ooh, both of y'all.
Yep.
Ooh, okay.
Just kind of taking that momentum where he got hit and spinning around and grabbing and shoving him into the hole.
No.
So meta game wise, as your friendly neighbor GM, like bad things await at that pit, and I'm absolutely willing to just let you, unless narratively you want this, I'm not saying that you have to grab and pull the zombie down into.
Well, I mean, I could always throw it up to chance, like try to shove him in, and if I fail with the deteriorating body, he just goes with. I mean,
Okay, sure. Yeah, well then we'll play it that way. So give me a successful danger check. Is this using your fortitude or unnatural strength in this sense?
I would probably say fortitude because he's trying to hold it all together. It's less about strength and more about just trying to withstand the torque of being spun around and shoving at the same time.
Okay, sure. Well, works for me.
Still. Oof. Yeah, that's a 5.
Okay.
So yeah.
Gerald's having a hard time.
Oh man.
Yep. I'll spend a point of my deteriorating body, and they're both going over the edge.
Well, I mean, you just spent a point from it, so you're successful.
Yeah, it's successful.
Yeah.
Let's just say it takes a piece of Gerald with it.
That's fair, but that is actually narratively pretty rad because mechanically that's enough to do this thing in. And so,
cool.
As you kind of hip check this thing, judo throw it into this great deep pit. It's a ways down, and in that moment, you see, similar to how the great tendrils started to consume the body of the farmer in the church, is that same thing starts to happen. Is immediately like these tendrils come up and start to like grab and pull this thing down into the earth below. But now free of the menace of the pit guardian, we just have the elder tree, the threat of the elder tree itself, but then also the song of the mindless farmers remaining, who have yet to be fully freed from their mental dominion. But nice. So,
all right.
John, who do you say would go? We've got Winston and we have the tree that have yet to act this round.
Yeah, Gerald will just turn around and kind of have this like weird half-hinged smile, and it'll be Winston's turn. As he looked at Winston, just the.
Winston's just gonna look and like that fell down, took a piece down. Like, well, I guess I can focus on one thing now, and Winston's gonna play the song again.
Cool. I will say at this point, just from a mechanical reminder standpoint of how some stuff works, now that we're starting to get a couple of folks with their pacts starting to crank up, or their portents starting to crank up close to max. So on your turn, instead of making a power check, you can invoke one of your pacts, especially if they're just kind of standard general purpose ones. If they're niche, like Gerald's wedding ring, I think we need to circle back and talk like how and why it's niche and what we might need to do to gain access to it. But just reminding everybody that that's an option. Also, as the fight gets tougher, there is the concept of passions, which are a status effect that you can sacrifice one of your pacts to basically supercharge a character. But granted, like Winston and Jeff only have one pact each, so I would probably not advise that for you guys. But each that might be an option for you. So just putting that out there. And now, sorry about that, Jeff, but tell me what would you like to do? Do you still want to play the song?
Still gonna play the song because it took twice last time, so hoping maybe play it twice this time will help like disrupt the song at least again or turn it off.
I like it. Yeah.
All right. So it was did we do hardship or isolation?
We did hardship on the song. Yep. With a +3 from the pipes.
All right, so that is 2 + 3 is 5.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and take one of the important points from the transformation
Yeah,
to
I
succeed
think that
on
makes
this.
sense. Yeah, definitely. 'Cause, like, and so as you play, it's hard to make out the whys, but something about your song playing and the minds of the farmers, like there are starting to be some of them now at this point who snap out of it in the same way that what we saw in the fallen down church, right? That they kind of shake out and look around at what they are and where they are. In the midst of that, both Narcera, but then also some of the farmers who haven't kind of been released from this mental domination from the song, also scream and shriek out. And you see the wood that is entombing the satyr in the tree start to grow and shift and entomb her just a little bit more. But she's not entirely encased. Like she's at 1 out of 8. So like there's but yeah, and so now we have some of these farmers who are starting. You can see the recognition in their eyes start to kind of kick in again.
All right, and the only thing left is the tree.
The tree, the elder tree. And so, having been carved open, literally, and part of this desiccated human body is exposed now, buried in the heart of the tree that Carlos's axe has cut open and hewn open and revealed. From that opening, from that wound, the black spores begin to pour out once more. And so, Carlos, I'm going to want you to make a isolation portent check.
Okay.
I'm willing to say either it kind of has a weird effect on your plant physiology of your own body, because it's like a weird plant thing to another weird plant thing, or we can say that the release of the spores empowers the transformation of the neighboring tree. Either one of those portents is fine by me. You tell me what sounds better for the.
It will definitely be towards my body. Yes.
So roll your D10
So
for isolation. Add the 1 from your current portent score. You get 6 or lower.
So that was 5 plus 1.
Oh man, nice.
6.
Yeah, so kind of at the back of your head, it feels fuzzy and strange for a moment. It almost kind of causes you to kind of like pause for just a second. But you come back to your senses quickly and find, you're still in the fight, and the whistler hasn't abandoned you, and everything's still normal.
Okay. But definitely, like, I have, there's these plants, I don't know if you guys know them, they're called Duermete Marias. And they're these plants that whenever something touches them, they just close. And my plants they will definitely do that when the spores just spray, they will close.
That's awesome. That's a cool visual. I like that. All right, so I think we're going to start this turn, having watched the spores kind of explode from the elder tree from a distance, and also having kind of just played the song and seen kind of the effect of that. I think we'll start with Winston at the top of this round. We'll say he can start us out.
So, is there a lit lantern here? And they're near the pit?
I mean, that's kind of just part of my terrible art. But how creating powers, packs, and portents, like temporarily new ones in a scene works, is basically give me a power check, and A single successful power check for whatever you're trying to look for, we can just generate that as a narrative element in the scene that's important enough to act as its own power. And
Well, my thought process was this is 1920s, and so that's an oil lantern if it's a lantern.
yeah.
And I was gonna use it as a weapon against the tree.
Okay. So how I'd like you to do this then is creating a new power is basically going to be your action of the round. And so then if successful, then we'll create this plus whatever oil lantern to use to cause the things in subsequent rounds. So it's a bit of a risk versus reward thing. For each power check, that gets you a +1.
Okay.
So give me this, I think, by going to kind of see like, oh, is that a lamp over there? Is that going to work? Like, is this thing still even reliable? Like, how long has it been out here? Definitely, that's definitely a hardship check.
All right.
And I don't think we have anything super relevant to add to that from your own existing powers. Unless you want to give me a sales pitch on your secret layer.
No. Nothing that I can come up with on a quick notice for that. And let's see. You know what? We're gonna we're gonna say like Winston made the wrong choice here, and the song was helping, but instead of continuing to play the song since he stopped, we have to add 2 points to the transformation in order for this check to succeed.
Ooh, okay. Okay, so while you're distracted looking for okay, I like it. Okay,
I got a 4, so
got a 4, so needed to tap into that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that gives you a +1 lantern. Do you want to make another roll to pump it up?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you've got mathematically, you kind of have the points to spend on this, right? Like,
yeah. Another
beef it up.
Another what was it? Hardship roll.
Hardship. Yep.
This one is an 8 on the die.
Okay. You've got a plus.
As I'm looking around, I see it and I go up and I go, all right. Okay. I look at it. There's oil in here, and the spark on the light still works, so it's still burning.
Nice. Yeah, and +2 really kind of represents the borderline of like mundane items and equipment. So like, holy crap, somebody left like a really high quality oil lantern in here. Nice. And do you just want to stay around the pit, or I'm assuming you're going to want to head over to the glade, right?
Yep.
Do you want to do that this round or wait?
I'll go. I got super speed.
Yeah. True. Okay. Nice. Okay. Nice round or nice turn. Who makes the most sense to go next? Makes the most sense?
I'm gonna give it to Gerald and see if I can maybe pass it off or something, or maybe Gerald can take over and use this with their turn.
I like it.
Oh boy. I feel like he's going to become the Human Torch, and not in a good way. So Gerald's carrying this lit lantern. And I'm like, Spirit Gerald's like, all right, careful, get it to the tree. The tree. Trees. No, the trees. Oh boy. This is going to be bad.
Or is it going to be awesome?
How do you want to spin this as far as what? Because like I can think of examples of all 3 perils, right? Like, is it just like zombie fall into tree with lantern, like kind of a danger thing? Is it like trying to like friend to friend, like, come on, buddy, we can do this? It's kind of like an isolation sort of thing. Is it just I need to know where exactly to like toss this lantern at this tree to have the most, effect? It's kind of like a hardship. I'm open to whatever, man, but I hope it's awesome. It sounds like
I want to go with the, well, I'm going to roll odd or even on this. How odd are you going to be, Gerald? Even. So it's going to be relatively smart and actually try to throw it. Because I was going to have him just heat-seeking missile into the tree.
Fair, which is fair. All right, so hardship roll.
Yeah.
With the +2 from the lantern.
All right. That is an 8.
Nice. And in that moment, the brightest moment a zombie has ever had in all of history. Carlos and Winston, you both see the arc of this lantern just perfectly drop into where Carlos had opened up the figure within the tree. And that oil splashes, breaks open, and immediately sets fire. And that black sap that was oozing out of that wound and oozing out of the figure immediately goes up in fire. And all of the mindless farmers who were still mindless shriek with pain, like as if they are dying, shriek, and one by one by one by one stop their songs and shake their heads as the tree continues to go up in flames, and they start to come to their senses as the tree burns with an unnatural fire caught aflame by this oil lantern. You watch as the other tree where Narcera the satyr was imprisoned, she begins to call out, you fools, what have you done? Endless, undying vengeance and power was about to be mine. You've wasted it to save these pathetic mortals, mere humans that should have been beneath us. And now you have caught me in a state neither fully of my future or of my past. What have you done? Cue further ranting and monologuing, of course, as the elder tree continues to burn and smolder, and the farmers return to their senses. So congrats, that was enough to wipe out the tree.
Gerald points at her and goes, "Not friend."
Yeah, Gerald.
Not friend. Nice, yeah. And in wiping out the elder tree, the song of the mindless farmers, the spell on them is lifted, and they also, those who remain, start to come to their senses. Very nice.
All right.
And so that starts to wrap it up.
Yeah.
I will cheat and not force us into another social perception roll just because we're at the end of the night. But you hear the same story from the farmers that it feels like the last few days have been in this weird waking dream where they had no control over themselves, and they did want to sing and return to the earth to nourish the trees so that they could continue their watch and their song of hatred towards humanity and all who live and breathe. And they knew that there were strange things in the woods. And without further details, they just can't explain it other than the lumberjacks and the timbermen would all have rumors of evil trees in the wood and knowing where to avoid harvesting wood and lumber and where to avoid going, and they feel like something was trespassed in the mix. and we will hand wave the fate of Narcera the satyr, half entombed in one of these black sap trees, for the purposes of bringing things to a conclusion. But justice could await her in whatever way the party would like to make that decision with whatever time awaited her.
I mean, there's a big, large, deep pit right there, right?
It's true.
We do have a woodcutter.
Yeah, talking about woodcutters, within my mythological investigation pact, would I know of any sort of organization or mythological investigators that dedicate themselves to containing, like an SCP Foundation, basically, to contain this sort of anomalies?
Yeah, I
that
imagine
could
you
contact?
probably would. What you know, and there might be similar things in Venezuela, where you came from, where Carlos the character came from in this world, where this represented an ancient indigenous practice of punishing and entombing and safeguarding away particularly malevolent individuals, and keeping them buried away forever. And somehow that ritual has gotten twisted or has become unchained over the millennia. And so now the hatred in their hearts has grown through the trees in which they had been entombed in, to inflict their hatred and pain and rage and vengeance on the world of mortal men and women, as a consequence.
Whoa. Damn.
So
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Cool.
So fortunately, you're able to return not all of the farmers and lumberjacks and timbermen to their families, but you're able to reunite some families, and that's the important thing. And as you make your way back through the woods, this time avoiding the briars and the maze-like heavy overgrowth, you make your way past another farm in the woods, more so like a small kind of family plot sort of farm, that also had, you run into more of the farmers who were released with the death of this elder tree, who are also, unsure about what happened and how they got there. But you're able to kind of get people out of the woods and back to the roadhouse and resolve the situation as best you're able to at that point. So well done, everybody.
Yeah. Woo! And Gerald's still in mostly one piece.
Yeah.
Mostly.
No fully deteriorated body, no
Most.
fake chaos magic getting unleashed, no
It got
fully
close.
transformed evil tree. Nice rolls, everybody.
It got close. We were trying for it.
Yeah. Blaze of glory.
I was like, oh man, like, you don't need to blaze a glory yet. If you want to, you can, but
All right. Well, thanks for running us through. Thanks for sharing this with us,
Absolutely.
Will. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us for this peep.
Yeah.
So you were a great addition. Lots of fun to play with.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
yeah, that's a wrap for this one. You just want to kind of give him a quick shout out again. Tell him where to find you.
Well, to the pretty people in chat that has stayed with us, and thank you so much. I am Peach. You can find me on Twitter at Peach_writings. I write for TTRPG, D&D, and mostly I do a lot of creation stuff and very fun stuff like this. Thank you so much for having me. And within my Twitter profile, you can find my Ko-Fi, Gmail contact, and all of that good stuff that's coming up. So yeah, that's me. Thank you.
All right, and we'll give them a quick rundown for you and where they can find More info on the game too.
Yeah, been a blast, everybody. So again, if you're looking for information on the game, how to join future play tests that we're running, how to get the rules, and join our small little growing community, the best way to do that is hitting up hexingtide.com, which will take you to my tabletop gaming blog. At that point, you'll be able to kind of hit up the itch.io rules, sign up for playtesting, all that good stuff. And if you'd like to connect, reach out to me on Twitter, where I'm there just as my name. So at Will Phillips. We'd love to chat about tabletop gaming nerdy stuff all day long. And I welcome your feedback and your thoughts. If you'd like to check out the game, give it a read. Keep in mind, we've got the big next playtest dropping in December. And so we're moving towards being able to wrap this thing up in 2023 and excited about where that's going to go.
Awesome.
So Don, Jeff, again, thanks so much for letting me share the game with you guys. It's been a real blast.
Yeah. It's been great playing.
Yeah, thank you again. Thanks everybody in the chat or anybody who's watching this afterwards. If you want to stay up to date on what we're running, what's going on, make sure you give us a subscribe either on Twitch and or YouTube. And we'll see you next time.
Yep. Stay legendary, folks.